Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. How we doing, YouTube and Twitch? Good to have you both with us as we get ready to rock another solid show here on the mighty SOR. Alison Oborn is here. Haunted Australia. It's hard to believe that, down in Australia where literally every animal and mammal wants to kill you. Now we have ghosts who want to kill you as well. And we're going to figure all this out with Alison here momentarily as we are so excited about this. We don't do a lot of paranormal shows, but this will be our first paranormal show out of Australia. So I'm very excited, especially since we have a lot of Australian listeners tuning us in on a daily basis. So Australia, how's tomorrow looking? Since you live in the future, do me a favor, update me and let me know if I am alive tomorrow. I would appreciate the psychic reading. Race fan takes home the gold medal position tonight. Kat from Paranormal Heart is in silver. Chad Smith, the Chad Smith, with a bronze medal tonight. The gorgeous Cosmic Fleur, Simon Wales, Mennonite Abe, stunning Steph Dickey, Jack Clark, Eddie Haskell, Nicola. Good to see all of you tonight. Thank you for coming on in. Hey, 11, how are you? When do you turn 12? Just curious. Drew Morris, Wes H., the gorgeous and talented Kira. Nice to have you all. Kira, by the way, will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Stephen Edmond, good to see you. Chefist, nice to have you back. Chefist will be signing autographs after the show. Absolutely no pictures of his mustache, though. No pictures. He will not sign for his mustache. Spooky Morales, good to see you. Mama Susan. Nine Pyreness. Or is it Nin Pyreness? Welcome to our channel for the first time. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button if you don't mind. Beck Jane from Australia, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Hope you hit that subscribe button as well, as we are here 7 days a week for you. All right. Damo Lind, welcome to Spaced Out Radio's chat room as well. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. Fidgety Aura, Ozzy, oi, oi to you, my friend. As we continue on with the roll call, Open-Minded Clarity, Peppa H., good to see you guys. Lovely Lauren, thank you for coming on in. Grand Paul Holland from Australia, how's the guitars? Please update us. Millennium, good to see you, my friend. As we continue on here with roll call, there's Smokin' Joe. How are you, buddy? Take a bow. Take a big, big bow. As we continue on here, Vinman, good to see you, bud. And thanks for coming on in. Uncle Dale and his power stash are here. Remember, people, tomorrow his offer ends. If you find Uncle Dale in Austin, Texas, you could rub his mustache for 3 weeks of good luck. 3 weeks. Offer ends tomorrow. Luscious Jules, good to see you. The gorgeous Helena, thanks for coming on in. Hi, Magnus, good to have you back. And we continue on here with our roll call. Jason, good to have you here. KF from Australia, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Thank you for joining us. Hope you hit that subscribe button. Phil Tan, welcome to our channel. Thank you for joining us. Apparently, I am looking good tomorrow. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Ozzy. Paul Holland, really appreciate the update, knowing that I'm alive tomorrow. Stu Gerson, right there. 88 Ice Queen, welcome to Spaced Out Radio's chat. We really appreciate that. And let me get the radio portion going here because we kind of need to do that. Come on. There we go. Noble Patrick, good to see you. Gorgeous Tessa in Melbourne, nice to have you back. And we continue on here with roll call. Travis DeLuca, Snakes on a UFO. Dirt Road, good to see all you guys here. Thank you for coming on in. And there's Michael Boyle, a.k.a. Cherry Pepsi Mike. Are you on the square? Are you on the level? Are you ready to stand right here, right now, before your Devo? Gorgeous Marie, what's up? And Joshua, nice to see you. Lovely Jenny. All right, we got 28 seconds before we're going to kick off tonight's show. If you don't mind, the super chat is open. It's a great way to support what we do on this channel each and every night for your entertainment. Don't forget, if you're new, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. We're here 7 days a week, all for your love and entertainment, and we love what we do here. Thank you to all the veterans who are tuning us in tonight, and of course, all the regulars who are here, much love to you. Get your horns up, Bumblefoot's right now. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. We got news swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Wow, we got a great show for you tonight. Alison Oborn is a Southern Australian author, radio personality, paranormal researcher, and tour operator. And she loves her paranormal and ghost chasing. She runs Adelaide's Haunted Horizons Ghost Tours, a tour business that could take you to some of the most haunted locations in Southern Australia. Born in a haunted house, her life was full of questions. And in 1988, she decided to find the answers to those questions by researching the paranormal. And tonight, we're going to find out all about it because, you know, everything literally wants to kill you in Australia. You can't go in the water. The jellyfish and sharks are there. Can't go on land because kangaroos will rip your face off. And the koala bears, they look cute, but they're vicious. Can't go in a lake to swim because you got crocodiles, you got bull sharks. It's a dangerous place. Dangerous ghosts. Alison, how you doing? Welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Oh, I got you on mute here. Hold on. That's my fault. There we are. How are you?
I'm good. That's probably why we've got so many ghosts. Because the animals, the wildlife just keep killing everybody.
That makes sense. I never thought about that. You know what? It's a dangerous thing, ghost hunting down there with everything wanting to kill you.
It's not the ghosts you have to be afraid of.
No.
It's when you're out there looking for the snakes and the spiders. It's what you have to look for.
Yeah, I don't appreciate that. You know, that honestly, that's going to keep me right away from there. You know, I always wanted to visit Australia. It's always been on the bucket list of places to go. But you know what? I'm a target. Animals, sharks, they'll look at me, Alison, and say, that's a meal. They'll look at other humans and they'll just be, no, too thin, not enough meat on the bone. I'll come around and they'll be like, oh, yeah, that's what we've been waiting for. Come here, Big Daddy. Let's do this thing. Come for dinner. Dinner. I'm not taking that chance. Not taking that chance.
Uber Eats has arrived.
Exactly. It's not a fun position to be in right now. Not fun at all. You know, I want to say thank you for coming on the show because we don't do a lot of paranormal shows here, Alison. You know, so when my team books one, they look for some real awesome stories. And we've heard such good things about you and what you're doing down there that it's just incredible to have you on. You know, let's go back to 1988 and even before that. What really got you into this entire field that we call the paranormal?
Like a lot of people, I was born into a haunted house. And it terrified me, absolutely terrified me. I was still sleeping with my lights on in my bedroom when I was in my 20s when I met my husband. But it's like a moth to the flame. What was it? Is there a natural explanation? I went into it to find just as much a natural explanation as a supernatural. And yeah, it was just a lifelong draw card for me and never thought it would go as far as it has.
So take us back to this haunted house you grew up in. What was happening there?
Well, it started before we even moved in. The backstory to it was a gentleman that lived there, and he came out of a pub one New Year's Eve, and we don't know whether he was mugged or whether he was drunk and fallen over a wall, but he ended up with head injuries. So He passed away in hospital. He was alive for about a few days in hospital, then he passed away. And then his wife sold the house to my parents because she couldn't live there anymore. Now, she said that she couldn't sleep upstairs because she said it felt like he was putting his arms around her all the time. And that would be nice, but when you've got somebody who you can't see that's passed away, it's just a little bit unnerving. So she sold the house to my parents, and my parents went away on their honeymoon, and my grandparents decided that they would actually try and decorate the house for them as a surprise, which I hope my in-laws never do for me, but there you go. So they would go in there, they try and paint the place, and they put all the tin lids back on, and then they come back the next day and the paint would be all over the floor. Everything would have been thrown around. Now, this is in a locked house. So whether somebody just didn't like it either, what they were decorating, I'm not sure. But then we were born, and the kids were having a hard time of it. My sisters probably had the worst of it because they're 10 years older than me, so they have a clearer memory. But they were seeing disembodied eyes in the corner of the room. So no body with them, just the eyes in the corner, and they would move across the room, which would absolutely terrify them. My earliest memory is probably when I was about 3 years old, hearing raspy breathing in the bedroom with me, like a male breathing as if he couldn't breathe properly. And I remember standing there screaming and crying for my parents. The other earliest memory was my brother used to have the cool toys, going back a long time. And you know Doctor Who with the Daleks? Yeah. So he used to have the old wind-up Daleks. I used to love playing with them. So I crept into his bedroom one day to go and play with all his stuff while he was out. And the Daleks just started up and went across the room. And there was only me in there. So they would be my two earliest memories of that house. So
Now growing up in a haunted house like that, did you ever, I mean, you said it bothered your sisters a lot more than it bothered you.
Me.
Yeah. So what was going on there?
Look, I just don't think he wasn't bad. I think he just didn't know why we were living in his house. He never came out of unconsciousness, so I guess he was still in shock. Well, I'm going to say it was a ghost. My mum actually did see him at the foot of the bed. Actually, I can tell you. Do you get the Blackadder over there?
No.
Series with it's a comedy show. The actress in it, one of the actresses in it, it was her father that haunted our house. So claim to fame there. But I just don't think he knew he was dead. I think or if he did, he just couldn't understand why his wife had moved away and we were there as a family. I don't think it was bad. I think it's just that as a child, that's very scary. So
now, you know, it always comes up. If your house is haunted and people are being tormented by a ghost, how long did you stay in that house? And why not move?
Because my parents, it didn't bother my parents at all because they knew who he was at the end of the day. They kept telling us, my parents kept telling us, no, everything we're seeing is just the shadows of the street lights in the corner of the room, stuff like that. So they stayed there probably for a good 10 years living with it. Some people just live with the ghost, but for the kids, it was just frightening because we didn't understand it, obviously. And our parents were trying to brush it under the carpet. We had to move because we moved down what we call a back lane. It was in England, so we have these back lanes. We moved to a bigger house down the road because the family was getting too big, obviously. And yeah, I still was terrified of that house. I couldn't walk past that house until late 20s. I just couldn't walk past it. There was that, I don't even know what happened to make me that fearful of the house. It's like I can't remember. But even as an adult, the house terrified me when I walked past it. But I think that's more from a kid's perspective. I don't think it was bad. My parents were all right living with it. He was just an everyday person. He just passed away, that's all. Doesn't make him a bad person. So
this was in England at this time?
Yeah. So I was born in England and then got married and moved to Australia. So I've been in Australia now for 33 years, so more than half my life.
Good for you. Good for you. So when you got to Australia, did you immediately start looking for paranormal tours, paranormal teams to kind of get the fix of what you were investigating?
Not straight away, because TV wasn't a big thing back then. I didn't know how to get into teams and paranormal. I started off in the UFO field because I saw a poster on a window once talking about crop circles, and one of the English speakers was coming over, and that's how it started for me. But UFOs were never a big draw card for me. It wasn't my passion, but I was in that for about 10 years, dabbling with the ghost stuff, and then fell upon a team that did the paranormal and started researching more into the ghost stuff, which was my first passion. Like many teams, there's nothing wrong with them. It's just not going in the direction that you wanted to research. Different methods, different ways. So I eventually set up my own team back in 2002, and the rest was history. We just took off and investigated, and all these interesting places.
And I can just imagine, because they are so, unknown to so many of us here in North America. How haunted is Australia?
I think everywhere is. I mean, I'm very rational, very on the fence, and it takes a lot for me to say it's paranormal. But I think anywhere you've got people, ghosts exist. People die. That's inevitable. And therefore, if your soul does stay behind, the energy does stay behind, you're going to have as many ghosts in one country as you are pretty much in another. And we don't have unlike England, where we have the battles and the wars that go back to medieval times and beyond, we don't have that strong, history. We've got very ancient history here. The culture here, which is obviously the Aboriginal culture, they're 50 to 60,000 years old. And that's one of the oldest ongoing cultures in the world. So, there's a lot of history long before us as well in this country.
Now, you've been investigating since you landed in Australia 33 years ago, and for a lot of us who may not have ever traveled there or really unfamiliar with the type of history that Australia has, especially with its paranormal. I mean, we hear more about it regarding UFOs and Pine Gap and all the mysteries that seem to be surrounded there. When you look at the, here in North America, you look at the settlers, you look at, the pilgrims, you look at the cowboys, the First Nations people, and the indigenous tribes that were nearly wiped out in battles and of all over time, over decades and centuries. Over there, what kind of history are you dealing with when it comes to the ghosts?
No, it's a very similar history. Obviously, white Europeans discovered, which it's a bad word to use. We discovered Australia, but there was already the Aboriginal people here, the Indigenous people here. And as I said, they're the oldest culture, continuous culture in the world. They've been here 50,000, 60,000 years when we discovered Australia. So, I mean, pretty much, and it's an awful thing. We would have done, the white Europeans did exactly the same here as they would have done in America with the indigenous tribes there. So there is that bad history there. Obviously, then we sent convicts out here, going back into white European settlement. A lot of it was sending convicts out to Australia from England. We were sending anything from a loaf of bread to just send them out to this country. And the jails and the prisons back then and the penal colonies, they were pretty brutal. So there was a lot of death in those places, a lot of mental health asylums had to be set up. So pretty much it's going to be very similar to your history in that respect as well. So
yeah, and I can see that, and I can understand that, because we all want to, try and say, "Oh, my place is more haunted than yours," or something along those lines. But as someone who is a 3-decade veteran of looking into the paranormal, have you got a lot of good evidence over there and a lot of good communication with these ghosts?
Evidence is, I don't like to use it as evidence. We've got some curious stuff. How do you prove it's a ghost? It's like, yes, we've had some interesting stuff happen. Yes, we caught it on video. Some of it is on YouTube, but we don't put all of it up there. to protect our venues because they're used for children and other things, and there's a lot of sensitivity to them. So we may show that footage on the tours, but we don't put certain stuff up. I have video footage of a woman literally turning into a 6-year-old child on one of the tours. We didn't know. We'd been operating in this place for 3 years, and people have been saying they were seeing a child, but we didn't know we were dealing with any children there. And what it did, she looks like a child. She looks like that woman, but it looks like her as a 6-year-old child now. She acts like a child. She looks like a child. She can't remember it. A piece of our equipment actually spat out the word swim at the point all this was happening. And because of that, because we're near the what we call the Murray River, which is just abounding the property where we do the tours, I thought, well, okay, I'll go into the newspapers and see if any children drowned. So punched in child, drowned, Tail and Bend, which is the area it's in. Boom, straight away, an old newspaper article came up from 1918. He was nearly 6 years old. He was in a boat on a swamp with his brother, and he fell out in 1918. It took them 2 hours to find his body. Well, put the hackles up. The swamp actually sits on the property we're doing the tours. I didn't know anything about this. He was the uncle of the present owner that drowned. The owner never told us. And even worse, we'd gone over the midnight period, and we were now in the anniversary of his death. Now, as a researcher, that kind of goes, okay, you've now got something to back up something unusual that happened on one of the tours. So, yeah, it's very weird.
What kind of places are you investigating over there?
It varies. We've got an old jail, an old prison. So that's the old Adelaide Gaol. We've got an asylum, which was used for the criminally, as they called them back then, the criminally insane. So if they didn't go to the jail, they were sent to this place. So we have that as well. We have an old railway museum, which is built on top of the old working part of a station there that was knocked down. What else do we have? A shopping arcade. We actually have a historic shopping arcade as well, believe it or not. A zoo, a metropolitan zoo. We've just started in there. What else we got? We've been, Masonic Hall. So the list kind of ebbs and flows. We try and keep it an old homestead as well, old place. So we like to keep it all, and everything's different, what we have at all these places. It's interesting as a researcher. I know the tours, and I know we're doing tourism now, but how lucky am I as a researcher, because it never stops. I can watch people now. I can take so many people into these locations each week and watch exactly who it happens to, keep records. It's just an interesting journey for me, having gone into this.
That is absolutely awesome. And the best part is you get to have fun telling all of these historic stories of your adopted homeland. And I'm sure you're sharing stories with the people of Adelaide and the tourists that come in for your tours that you do. And we'll get into your tours a little bit later, that are just blown away, that didn't understand the deep history of the area.
Yeah, look, that's my other passion. I'm very, very passionate about history and heritage. And honestly, when I first came to Australia 30 odd years ago, they were showing me a building that was 1885 and going, oh, it's so old. And I'm looking at it going, oh, really? Because in England, my sister lives in a house that's about 300 years old and thinks nothing of it. But you know what? You live here long enough, you start to appreciate, you have a whole different view on it. And I now I'm so passionate about especially South Australian history. And I love to share that because there's so many generations at the moment that just aren't interested in their history yet. And the history is really amazing. I'm more into people history, like the stories behind the hauntings, but that leads to learning about the patients in that asylum, studying the prisoners that were in the jail, and their stories are a lot more exciting. Sometimes history and heritage can be more exciting than the actual ghost stuff. So, and it's just trying to get a generation really to care about their history and heritage so that we don't keep knocking it down and losing it. And the ghosts are a good way to do that. It's a good way to bring them in. And they just stand there and they go, I didn't even know this was here. And it's just, they get that appreciation for it. So.
Is there a lot of interest in the paranormal over there?
Yeah. Yeah. We've been flat out. So so many different, and people say, well, what type of people come? It's so it's so vast. People are very interested. Of course, we're getting the American TV ghost hunting shows here as well. So that's got a big following over here. So people are getting more and more interested in the paranormal. And yeah, it's everybody from young to old. We're all going to get there, aren't we? We're all going to get to that point one day. And I think people want to be reassured that there is something, maybe, after we pass away. So there is a big interest in it. And we all love a good mystery. Life's too boring otherwise.
What kind of questions do you get from your guests on your tours?
Oh, look, I mean, basically we tell them what's happened, but usually what's the most scariest thing we've had happen at whatever venue. They are very more intrigued about the history as well. It seems to generate more questions from them. Suddenly they want to know it, because who do you think it is that we're dealing with? And then you'll go through, well, it could be this patient's story, or it could be this one. And then you kind of bring in we want you to understand this building isn't just an empty building about ghosts. It's also had people in here. And they get very intrigued. So a lot of history questions come from it as well. But usually, what's the scariest place you've ever been to? What's the scariest thing you've ever had happen? Is mostly what we get. So.
Do you ever get those people who come on your tour and they're hoping that it's an actual haunted house, like you would see at a fair or at a carnival or something along those lines?
At first, I think they're pretty much aware. We make it very clear that that isn't what you're going to get. You're going to get nobody jumping out at you. I took the philosophy, and that's the first thing I say to them. If you watch the ghost hunting shows, just remember, it's not quite like that. You're not going to get this stuff happening every single time. It would be called normal, not paranormal, natural, not supernatural. And this is what I try and get through to them. It's very random. It's very when it'll happen type of thing. But the one thing I do promise them, and most of our guests, I know some of them probably are on here, is we will never, ever put it on for them to think they've had something happen. There's so many nights that I could die a death because nothing's happening, but we're never going to. I'm trying to prove you don't have to do that. The history of the place, just being in these places, having the opportunity to try and investigate with equipment, that's more important. And I think they appreciate the honesty. So,
and I think that's a good thing. You know, I will divulge to you that I run a ghost tour up here in our town at a local museum, and it's been shut down for the last 2 years due to COVID. And you know, our museum is a nonprofit, doesn't get any government funding as a historical site. And in the 3 years we ran it, we raised over $14,000 for the museum. And I don't know if we're going back or not, because there's some real idiots that are on the board of directors there. But, you know, the main thing is these tours are a lot of fun. It's great education. We'll talk more about that when we come back. Alison Oborn, Haunted History of Australia down in Adelaide. We're loving her tonight as we talk ghosts all night long here on the mighty SOR. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio when we return right after this. All right, first commercial break. That was fast, eh?
It was. It went really quick.
That's what we do around here. So I know we have a lot of new listeners in our chat room right now, and a lot of unfamiliar names. So I just want to let you guys know that we're actually a live radio show. So when we go to commercial break like that, what we're doing is we're going to commercial break for the radio stations. You guys get to see kind of the behind the scenes of everything that kind of goes on. So if you're wondering, you know, well, this show, what the hell are they doing at the top and bottom of the hour? That's what we're doing. That's exactly what we're doing. So just wanted to let you guys know so you can figure it out. Hey, Aussie Rob, that's good ham hocks, man. Very good ham hocks. Tawny's mom, welcome to our chat room. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you coming on in. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, so that way you know we are literally here 7 days a week, because we have no other life besides this. We really don't. And we enjoy what we do. Thanks, Spaghetti Lee. Appreciate you. Now, Spaghetti Lee came over from Thomas Fessler's Disclosure Tonight. So we appreciate that. We appreciate Thomas and the good friend he is to this show as well. He is actually, if you guys want to catch a really good show, all right, Thomas is on Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific, and he does a really, really good show. Smart guy, very great broadcaster. So our listeners, we want to make sure we go support Thomas as well. I'm usually in there every night before the show listening to Tom while I'm warming up for SOR. So that's kind of cool. Very cool. Anyways, sorry, I had to get a bunch of that out. As long as you're having fun there, Allison, that's all that matters.
It's good. I mean, I hope I'm not talking too much.
No. I mean, you're a beautiful storyteller. That's what it comes down to.
Actually, I've got some Aboriginal earrings. You can't see them, but they've got certain artwork. And hang on, let me get one of them out because it has a meaning, and it's funny you should say that. All right, I don't know if you can see the.
Oh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful.
Go. All right,
that almost looks hand stitched.
It'll be hand painted. It was bought for me because it actually means storyteller. So it's funny you should say that because that's what the meaning is of that artwork on it. So
that is beautiful.
That was. Oh, I'll get back in there. Oh, can't get it in. There you go. It's hidden under my headphones. So.
When I wonder if I'll run and get it. One of I have a daytime job as well, and one of my Indigenous clients about a year and a half ago, he just passed away like 3 weeks ago, like 32 years old. But when I helped them out and get out of a jam financially, they actually came in and they brought me a little hand made leather medicine bag.
Oh, wow.
And it's like from the First Nations up here. That's a very, very important gift. And I keep that in a real safe spot.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Thurston Howell the Third. Hi, Zero Cool. How are you? R&R, good to have you back. And R&R, I'm going to tell you something. The first half hour, I ask a lot of soft questions because there's a lot of people like you who don't want to miss all the good juice. And that's why we wait till the second half hour before we start turning the show up. So that's you didn't miss much, just more of the introduction of everything. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. For some reason, she always wants her name pronounced 3 times. It's weird. Rooted in Gorgeous Sacredness, 4-16 Bitcoin. Good to have you guys here. Mr. Moocher, nice to have you back. We're packing in here. Lots of room left. Lots of room left. We got about 45 seconds here before we're going to return. I want to say a big thank you to Ozzy Steve, Spooky, Cat Chaser, Kason, and Smithy for the awesome super chats tonight. Really do appreciate the love and support of Spaced Out Radio. The super chat is a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis. Also, don't forget to check out our website, spacedoutradio.com/shop. We got some great swag in there, including Chad Smith t-shirts. Yes, you can be like Chad Smith as well, everyone. So make sure you check it on out. Hi, Magic Maiden. Good to see you. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Check out our new swag as well. And follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight. We head down under, where ghost tour operator Alison Oborn is here with us tonight, and she has a beautiful tour out of Adelaide, where literally she takes people on ghost tours. And I'm excited to learn about this because I've done ghost tours before as well. And, you know, the one thing that really resonated with me the last half hour, Allison, that you mentioned was the fact that you have to go through this spiel every tour where you're literally saying, look, if you've seen what you see on TV, it's not what's going to happen here, because literally they take 4 or 5 days of shooting and bringing it into 43 minutes. And no, we don't have people hiding behind walls ready to go boo or to scare you. This is the real deal. So when people hear that speech from you and they're coming on your tour down in Adelaide, does it really set the tone that this is the real deal, that they're not playing some kind of childhood fun game here?
Yeah, I mean, there's still, it doesn't matter how many times you say it, that the reality of seeing a ghost on a tour is kind of not big, like not huge. You'll have occasionally things happening around you. But you can say that. You can say it's not like the shows. I'll say to them, who here watches the ghost hunting shows on TV? And all these hands will go up. And you'll just go, oh. They're the bane of my life.
Let me break
and then I'll explain why. But that's what I explained. They're in there for hours. You are in here for probably 2 hours, which is a blink of the eye in the time of, you know, being in these places. So I think they get it. The occasional person won't, and you'll get your 5 stars knocked down to 3 because they didn't see a ghost. Sorry, I had to give you 3 stars. We didn't see a ghost. And, you know, that's fair enough. I think they come with this huge expectations from the movies and the shows. But yeah, no, they do. Once they realize there's still a little bit, obviously, the old style of ghost tours was you always put something on, you always had something happen. And I guess people have to get over that distrust, if you like, that if you've got a bang or something like that, then obviously you've got somebody hiding doing that. So a lot of the time I'll let them walk around. We give them free time so they can go and search the building, go and look and have a feel of the building before I tell them the stories. And yeah, just so they can reassure themselves, well, we don't have anything set up. You're probably going to go home kind of just enjoying the history in the building and the investigation. So keep it real. It's far more exciting when you have something you can't explain, if you are really, really sure that the people aren't putting it on. And this is kind of what we're trying to foster. And we've been doing it 11 years with the public, and yeah, it's always been that way.
We had a story of a pair of ladies who came on our tour. And the one was really into the television shows, and the other one was a retired school teacher who didn't believe in the paranormal, didn't believe in anything, you know, thought it was all a bunch of crap. But she came to support her friend because her friend didn't want to go alone on the tour. So we have on our tour, and I don't know if you do this or not, but our tour guides are not allowed to take photos. All the photos that we get, we allow people to take pictures of everything. And we encourage it because you never know what you're going to get. And all it takes is one. So this lady is, we got this 1910 Clydesdale horse barn. That's probably, 50, 60 yards long. And it's 2-tiered. And we're up on the second tier, and I'm in a different group. So my tour guide is up on the second tier, and they're taking photos. And this one lady takes a photo of literally a full body apparition. You can't even see through this thing on the stairwell. Wow. And it freaked her right out, because here she was taking pictures. We always say, take more than one picture at a time. And there was nobody on the stairwell because we didn't allow people up on the stairwell for safety reasons. And you see this creature. I don't know. It is human, looks human, got a big scar running down its face. And it is honestly, I've sent it to some paranormal people that I know, and they're like, this is one of the best pictures we've ever seen.
Wow.
And so have you had any experiences like that on your tour?
Yeah, look, again, we don't focus on photography because I do photography, so I know of a lot of the glitches and stuff that you can happen with cameras. So we don't personally. Other people do. We had one picture sent to us. We got one room in our asylum. We call it the mirror room, and it used to be where the shower block was, and it's got a row of mirrors in there. And we have had reports of people seeing a man in this room, very tall. I've had it in my face, actually. That's another story altogether. To a very tall person, and they took a photograph of the mother and daughter together, and in the mirror behind, you can actually see a figure of a man. You can see his suit. You can see the old style hair. And it's like, okay. I pulled it. I couldn't see if it was an app or not. I haven't seen that one around, but it was very interesting. So, yeah. Occasionally we get those type shown to us.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm just pulling up the photo here for our YouTube and Twitch users. So on the radio side of things, what you're looking at, or what we're looking at, is a barn photo of the gentleman on the stairs. Now, you can go check that out on our Facebook page. It is there, and if you want a copy of it, we can put it on social media. But I mean, looking at this guy on the stairwell, you could see the cut down his face, the paleness on his face. His arm is reaching up onto the stairwell, so that way he could pull himself up, and it is probably one of the creepiest photos I have ever seen. Now, a lot of people, when I say, well, where's the ghost? They won't even look at this guy. They'll look at the guy down below and they'll be like, well, he's standing right at the bottom there. No, that's a person that's at the bottom. But this guy on the stairwell, we actually got a second picture of him a few months later as well. And in our communication with this guy, he was able to say to us that he didn't like his picture taken. So this is taken on the front, on the bottom floor of the barn. You only see half a picture, but what's interesting is the eye socket is the same, and you can still see the scar running down his forehead, which is absolutely creepy.
So
Absolutely creepy.
I'm going to question you now. Here's me interviewing you. So, I mean, do you have a death behind the history of the place that would...
This barn was built in 1910 as a remembrance to a Canadian soldier who was killed in World War One. And pardon me, it was built and then it was moved after that, and it was a tribute to a Canadian soldier. So I believe it was built in not 1910, 1919 or 1920, right after World War One, because the barn was dedicated to this gentleman's friend who had passed away during the war. Now, the funny part about it is, like with this guy here, he at the top of the stairs there's a walkway that goes right to the other end of the barn, and that's where he kind of hangs out. And every now and again, we'll see him when we bring a tour up to that second level of the barn. You will actually see a blurred image of him standing there, kind of leaning over, looking at everybody. Not everybody can see it, but a lot of people will be like, oh, I see the outline of a man there, right? And they'll say that area looks blurry or whatever it is. And so in order to make peace, because he actually did not, we were told through a number of intuitives and other ghost hunters that he didn't like his picture being taken. And so eventually what we ended up doing is we ended up blocking the stairwell. And in order to do the tour, we had to ban cameras from his area, number one. And number two, we had to give him a shot of whiskey and a cigarette for every tour. And it's amazing. As silly as that sounds, not a single guest or host was attacked after that.
Okay. Hmm.
Neato, eh?
Yeah. Got a great place there. I'll have to come and visit one day.
Absolutely. Well, our place is right along the old Gold Rush Trail.
Right.
That started in California, went over to Nevada, and then headed north, through Oregon and Idaho and Washington State, and then into British Columbia, and it goes right up to Alaska and the Yukon Territory. So during that time, there was not a lot of, there was no police. It's because of that the Northwest Mounted Police was created, which eventually became the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Yeah.
And so that's a little bit of history for our area. And the Gold Rush Trail right behind me in the studio is about less than a mile away, maybe 3/4 of a mile away as the bird flies.
Wow.
It's intense. So for your tour, as you don't worry about the photographs, what kind of experiences are people having?
Visual. A lot of like shadowy figures, especially in the asylum. People turning into 6-year-old children. That's another one. They just seem to trance out. That's every location's different. Sounds, obviously, banging doors. Again, I'm going back to the asylum for that. But a lot of it is when we're doing the investigation with the equipment, because that's when we're focusing and trying to get stuff. So a lot of it is audio, EVP. We do use the ghost box. I know there's a huge controversy on that, and I used to be a big skeptic. And we do seem to get some very intriguing results with that stuff. And yeah, it's just in video. There was another lady that tranced out. I don't get many ghost stuff. I'm very critical on my footage, and I'm very critical on my photographs because I know how the lens works, and I know how things can look like ghosts when they're not. But one in particular is in a church in the Pioneer Village that I do the tours, and another lady tranced out, which seems to happen, and started to just not respond. And then behind her, there's a shadowy form of a person, passes behind her along the back of the pew there, which we caught on camera. Now, if nothing had happened, I wouldn't have looked at that footage because I've got about 120 terabytes of footage I've never looked at from the tours. We videotape them, but there's not enough man hours in the day to go through them. So now I'm looking at that 120 terabytes going, I wonder how much else I've got on that that could show something like that. But yeah, so a lot of, for us, it's audio, it's trying to capture stuff on equipment based more than photographs. People will take photographs, we don't mind, but I'm kind of critical because I know long exposure can cause the shadowy figures, and people keep giving me these, and you're in low light. So yeah, that's just me.
Tell us about this asylum.
All right. It was built in 1885, and it was part of what was then known as Parkside. I'm going to say the old term lunatic asylum. Obviously, we don't use those terms now. Politically correctness. It was built at the back to keep the worst of the worst away from the rest of the patients. So if you committed a crime, and you didn't always have to be found guilty of it, if they deemed that you did not understand your court case, then you would be put into this building as a criminal, but a criminal with obviously a large mental health issue. It was male most of its life. There was no females in there, so it was male patients, male nurses. A lot of the patients were in there for violence against women as well. You had the murderers, the wife killers, you name it. And it was shut down in 1973, and then it wasn't really used for about 20, 30 years. And it's got what you call a ha-ha wall around it. Now, that's a wall that's twice the depth on the inside than it is on the outside. So that protected it from being vandalized and burnt down. And it's an amazing building, amazing architecture. And yeah, I asked if I wanted to get involved in raising money for heritage projects for it. I'm on the heritage committee for that building. So we thought, you know what? Ghost tours are very popular everywhere else. And I suggested it. What really meant was I wanted to come in, see if there was anything there. It's like, but we couldn't do a ghost tour because we couldn't make anything. I won't make anything up. So we couldn't just do a walk around ghost tour telling ghost stories. There wasn't any. And we were perfectly honest. We put it out there in our advertising. Is it haunted? We don't know. Do you want to find out? Basically, can we promise you a ghost? Nope. Do you want to find out with us? Hell yeah. So we could just do investigations with the public. And we had so much happen in the first 10 weeks that I could do an 80-minute tour. And 7 years later that we've been there, it's just, I could talk for hours on that place. It's challenged me as a rational person. It's probably one of the ones that has challenged me the most. So now we also chose, it doesn't just, we also chose to support what we call Beyond Blue here, which is like Lifeline, which is for mental health issues. So we do give out of every ticket because of what the building was about. We give a couple of dollars out of every ticket from our profits to this charity every year as well, because of this building that we got. So we wanted to give back to mental health and not just take, if you like. So
what kind of ghosts are you seeing or having interaction with at this?
Wow. It varies. Most of it is more, you get the feeling that it's curious. The ones that most people are seeing, and the one I've seen it 6 times, and I don't see ghosts very often. 30 years doing this, and probably about 10, 15 times I could say wasn't a person. I was doing a tour one night, and we do it without lights and torches when we're doing the stories because there's enough ambient light, and we all become silhouettes. And I had the silhouette of a guest right in my face while I was doing the tour in this room, and we all like our bubble of space. We don't want people that close. And I thought it was one of the guests, and this guest was really annoying me. And the only way you can break that is to make a point of it and maybe touch them on the shoulder, and people will step back from your touch. So I broke off the story and said, I'm sorry. I said, is there somebody next to me? And I tried to touch them, and my hand kept going. The people who were around me freaked out, the guest, because they saw it too. They thought it was a guest. We all did. But they said it stepped back from my hand and then just vanished right in front of them. And it was just like end of tour, every man for himself out that cell. So it varies from that. I've seen it walking the corridors when I've been doing a tour, thinking a guest has walked off and got my back up to go and bring them back. Nobody there. To people reporting something about dog height on the ground, crawling on the ground. So we've got this like dark shape of a creeper crawler thing, which didn't make sense. And I thought, do we have a dead dog in here or something? Because people kept reporting it. And I've been involved in an oral history. We've been filming the nurses that used to work there. They're all in their 80s. And we thought we'd get that on record for future generations. And they said that there were patients in there that never wanted to stand up on their own feet. So you actually did have patients that insisted on crawling on their hands and knees. And then it started to make more sense why people were seeing something low down. I think the last time we were seeing was about 3 weeks ago. Yeah, it varies. That's what they're seeing. There's only once I've known, actually probably 3 times, I've known detail in the figure. One was again in the asylum. They actually got it caught in the torchlight, and it was a real person. An old person, to see the shirt, the trousers, and that's a story in itself. So get me started, I'll just keep going.
You get a lot of entities that, well, like this one that you were talking about was standing beside you and taking the tour along with people. Do you get a lot of entities that will actually make contact with people, pulling hair, tapping on the shoulders? Yeah. Tell us a few stories.
Yeah, I had one girl that brought her skeptic mother along. Again, she just got dragged along because the daughter really wanted to do it. And again, it's in this same, what we call the mirror room. So we put guests in there. We put about 4 in each, one in each corner, so they're not touching each other or near each other. And I'll tell the stories and they can listen from in the room. And the mother she lost it, because she had these very expensive prescription glasses that she just bought, brand new, they're like hundreds of dollars. and they suddenly went flying across the room and smashed on the wall on the opposite side of the cell. And she said she actually felt them swiped off her face when it happened. And the daughter was absolutely, yes. But we get hair touching, we get bags being played with. We actually do, and I don't put this stuff up, but people get to see the photographs on the tour. We actually in the asylum do get a lot of welts and scratches coming up on people, and they're very different. When you blow them up, if somebody scratched themselves, like, oh, I've got a mozzie bite, like that, you'll see displaced skin cells on the blow up. These ones are very different. They're actually coming from under the skin. They're usually these welts that just come up, very red, raised welts, usually on women, not so much on men. So, yeah, we get a whole range of stuff that they're experiencing there. So,
why do you think women are more attacked than men?
I don't think they are in most places, but in the asylum, which is where we get this happening, it was male dominated. The patients there respected the male authority because that's what the nurses and they were more restraint nurses, not like trained nurses. I think the patients were taught to respect the men, and that seems to be what happens. However, like I say to the girls when they come in, whatever's here does not respect us one little bit. There were patients in there who were in there for violence against women, who didn't respect women. So it kind of made sense when it was happening that it was going to be the females. And don't forget, we weren't telling people at the beginning. When we did that first 3 months there of research, we weren't telling the tour what had happened on previous investigations because we needed to know it was a happening thing as well. So, and we had about 13 of these physical attacks like welts coming up on people. So just in that first 3 months.
Wow. Have you ever had anybody injured on the tour?
Yeah, very rare, apart from the welts, very rare. We have had a few collapses. It's almost like it learned a new trick with men. You remember what I said about this asylum? Coming back to the asylum again as an example. I also say to the men now, don't feel complacent because it seems to have learnt a new trick, almost like testing the waters. We had a spate of men collapsing and face planting the cement. And it was too many in a short space of time to go, hey, they've all got low blood pressure and low blood sugar, which is my first thought would be that. And one of them did go down and he did end up with 2 staples in the back of his head, but he was fine. It's like, but that's rare. That's rare. That's, we've been doing the tours now for 11 years. And at the end of the day, most of it is just benign, curious, just they are as curious of us as we are of them type thing. So
very true. Very true. Alison, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. 1 hour down, talking haunted Australia down in Adelaide, where the ghost tours are filled with ghosts. And Alison Oborn, our guest tonight, gets to have a lot of fun taking people on these tours. More ghost talk with Alison Oborn next on Spaced Out Radio as we kick off hour 2. That's a good solid hour right there.
Wow. I came on going, I don't know what I'm going to talk about.
Don't worry, neither did I.
They're the best kind of interviews, though, aren't they?
My big secret, very rarely do I actually prepare questions. Very rarely. I just like things to be very au naturel.
I think it's more spontaneous like that. Otherwise, you're too scripted and you're too, better going with the flow.
Absolutely, yeah.
More relaxed.
Reminder to our audience in the chat rooms.
By the way,
yes, go ahead.
My website's back up.
Is
they
it?
Fixed it. I gave them a mouthful. They just fixed it. So there you go.
Nice. Now we can actually load it up here. There it is. Look at that. Look at that. There it is. Well, that makes me feel good now.
Makes me feel good too.
Awesome. AdelaideHauntedHorizons.com.au is the website. Michael Morris, how are you? Welcome back. I like Spaghetti Lee's comment here. With that accent, Alison could read the phone book and I would listen. Beautiful.
Do I have an accent?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Reminder to everybody, in hour 2, we like to open up questions from our audience. So when you're typing out questions for Alison that you'd like me to ask her, do me a favor, put them in capital letters. It's a very easy way for me to find your questions, and that way I can get to them. All right? Appreciate that. Phil Tan, I know you had a question there. I apologize. I lost it in the chat room. If you could type it back in, I'd appreciate it.
I think I know what it was.
I'm having fun tonight, so thank you.
I am too. It's a great way to spend an afternoon, as it is here.
Or a night. It's 10 o'clock here at night.
2:30 in the afternoon here.
Very cool.
I'm probably more awake than you are.
Probably. I've been going since 7:25, 7:30 this morning. B-Hoff, how you doing? Adelaide _haunted_tours, I believe, is your Twitter account.
Yeah, I don't go on Twitter very often, guys. I must admit, it's occasionally I go on. The ones we normally do is YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So
awesome. Hi, Sinister Vax. Good to see you. Gary the Dutchman is here. He's wondering who's buying Mighty Moose beard oil before Halloween. Remember, he's Dutch, and he hates giving a discount because he's Dutch. So make sure you check it on out, Mighty Moose Beard Oil or MightyMooseBeard.com. I'll do the demonstration at the bottom of the hour. So, yeah, you're Dutch, Gary. Sorry to say, but you are Dutch. Whit Helton, welcome back.
And I'm going to say, Spaghetti Lee, I'm just watching the comments go up. South Australia is in that big arc at the bottom. We're in that bit that comes down. So we're right at the bottom. So
she's near
the
They get penguins.
There's Tasmania between us and the Arctic.
They get penguins there, which brings in great white sharks to feed on them.
Yeah. Don't go swimming with the penguins.
No.
Or the seals.
No. Just don't swim in the ocean around Australia. Because if it isn't a saltwater croc, it's a tiger shark, a bull shark, a great white shark, and anything with teeth that is going to eat you.
And don't forget the jellyfish.
And the jellyfish.
And the poisonous octopuses.
And the octopus. There's nowhere safe in Australia. Nowhere. We got just over 1 minute. And Aussie Rom says, and then the redbacks are on the toilet seats. That's just terrible. You can't even go to the bathroom properly in Australia without some snake tickling your hiney or spider trying to bite you. It's horrible.
You get very fond of the spiders.
No.
You give them names.
No.
I haven't got one around. Usually I have one in my office that's probably about the size of my hand.
No.
Terrible.
I called
one of them Sammy. I think The last one I had that lived here was Sammy.
Biggest I get daddy long legs. So they're about that big. But their body is about that big. All right. Big thank you to Aussie Steve, Spooky, Cat Chaser, Kaysen, and Smithy for the awesome super chats. Remember, it's a great way to support what we do on this show every night here on the SOR. And we're going to kick off hour 2 right now. Get your horns up.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Thank you to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Fanfaronade. Fanfaronade is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight talking Ghosts of Australia. Down in Adelaide, Australia, we have Alison Oborn. She is a ghost tour director. Her website, AdelaideHauntedHorizons.com.au. And we're going to talk more ghosts right now with Alison. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you also for scaring the daylights out of me during the break, because now behind you, I'm going to be looking for a 6-inch spider that's going to be crawling around. And I'm going to tell you, I will scream. I will scream. There's no need for spiders that big. No need.
They're cute. They're pets.
It will kill you.
I might jump on you a couple of times and try.
Ugh. Not for me. Not for me. You know, oh my gosh, I could just imagine. I really hope that thing doesn't come out. I'm going to be like this.
I really do. I really do.
No way. No way. All right, we were talking some ghosts here before you scared the crap out of me with that spider thing. And, we were talking about the asylum. How many buildings are on your ghost tour?
At the asylum, we only have the one. The rest of it has been redeveloped. In fact, the South Australian Film Corporation has got the main building of the asylum, which is kind of sad for me. But the other places, like we've got Pioneer Village, we've got 115 buildings on there to choose from when we're doing the tours. So Adelaide Gaol, they've got 11 buildings still standing in the Adelaide Gaol. Is complete when it's shut down, the historical ones. So it depends on your venue. We've got different buildings, different amounts, different venues.
Tell us about the Adelaide Jail, because I have an interest in jails.
Ooh,
and there's just something creepy about it. You know, my sister, she's been a prison guard for about 32 years. And,
all right.
And I hear a lot of the weird stuff that happens there.
So Adelaide Gaol was built in 1841 and it shut in 1988. So 147 years of working life. And during that time, we executed 45 prisoners there. So they still remain within the precinct of the jail, because you weren't allowed to come and claim your loved one's body if they're executed. Part of the punishment was to stay within the precinct of the jail. So we do have we have 2 cemeteries there actually for the executed. Plenty of other deaths there, obviously, disease, natural causes, I hate to say it, people taking their own lives. So, it's jails. You're going to get all of that in historical jails. So, and when we first set up the team, we approached the jail because we'd heard the stories that were coming out of it from the people who worked there. Once it was a museum. And they were seeing what they said was a guard up on the second gantry of a certain cell block. So as a paranormal team just set up, we went and approached them. And we were very lucky, right time, right place. The government wasn't interested in the building and the manager was interested in the ghosts. So we were allowed in there anytime we wanted. We had the keys and we were allowed to stay all night, which was great for researching. And we were only going to stay 3 months. We ended up staying 10 years as the official researchers there, because we just had to walk away from that would have been silly. So, and eventually I wrote a book on it, Ghosts of the Past, which was based on that 10 years of research we did there. This is long before tours. I didn't get into tours until later. But that was when I was researching. So, yeah, I've been there 20 years now, both as a history officer, heritage. It's not just about the ghosts, my association with the place. And probably the one I've got the most fondness for because of my long-term association with it. So, yeah.
When you're investigating the jail, do you ever get to go to the gallows where they committed or executed the death penalty? And what's that like in there to go into that area? That's got to be creepy.
We had 2 or 3 different hanging areas or execution areas. The hanging tower that we have the gallows in now, in reality, there was only 4 of the 45 that were executed in there. But you do get in there, you do get to stand on the trapdoor because it's all open to the public. Even if you go during the day, you can do all this. It still has a lever that you can pull that the executioner would have pulled in his room. So the other place where we did most of the executions, which is the most haunted building in Adelaide Gaol, 21 of them were done there. So you get to stand under the trapdoor. It's above you at that point. So, but yeah, no, you get to visit those places. You get to walk through the cemetery to see where Murderers Row, that we call it. They were only ever executed for murder. And it was always by hanging. So,
do anybody on the tour, or has anybody on the tour ever seen the bodies hanging?
no, we have heard what sounds like the trapdoor going out. That would have gone, when that trapdoor went, it would have gone with a massive bang. When we were researching, not so much on the tour, we had just come out the new building where they did the 21 executions. And as we walked out as a paranormal team, all we heard back in that building was bang. And it reverberated, echoed through the whole building. Could you hear it? It's like, wow, that was weird. No doors had slammed shut, no wind. It sounded like you would have expected that trapdoor when it went out underneath the prisoner. So, but seeing people hanging, no, that's never been seen. So,
now, when you do the tours, are the lights on or the lights off?
Lights off. I like to do lights off. So we use torches to get from point to point for obviously safety reasons. But when I'm actually telling the stories, we douse the lights. So there's always that ambient light anyway that you can still kind of see each other. But we tend to turn stuff off at night for the guests.
Makes it just a little bit more spooky, doesn't it?
They like it better, yes. I mean, I used to investigate during the day. It's like I say, if you're going to get something happening, it's not just at night. In the Adelaide Gaol, they were getting as much happening during the day. That's why we were called in, because they didn't do stuff at night so much. So if anywhere's haunted, you should still get the same amount of stuff, reactions on the equipment during the day as you would at night. So it's just that the public like to be in the dark. So do we. Makes it more interesting.
Do you have a favorite ghost that likes to interact with people?
Yeah, favorite. There's 2. I would go back to Tailem Town for that. The Pioneer Village, the lady that turned into the 6-year-old child that time, literally with the face. We have had a lot from him. His name was Ian. That's the real person, the real child that drowned in 1918. He is associated with the family that own the place now. So it's family related. We get a lot of interaction with him, and he does give his name, a lot of childlike interaction as well. And we find that this particular energy tends to gravitate towards men if you like, not older men, but in their 20s, 30s, things like that. And they get a lot more responses. And whether it's because he was with his brother, his older brother, when he died, so he's obviously very close to his brother, and whether that is what he's attracted to, I'm not sure. So, but we do get a lot of interaction with him. We have another one that we've nicknamed Ted. We have no idea if that's his real name. He's not quite so fun to have. It's almost like the atmosphere changes. And I hate saying this because I am very rational, and it's like I'm admitting that ghosts exist when I try and keep that rational, balanced view. But we do call him Ted, and that's the one that I've had people thrown back into their seat. Literally. Not very often, but it has happened. And you just know the whole atmosphere in that church changes if everybody feels it, if that one's there. So otherwise, a child is quite fun.
Do you ever have run-ins with children ghosts on the tour?
Yeah, look, we do get children, as said, on Tailem Town. We don't get run-ins. It's almost like there's some people that energy gravitates to. No, we don't have run-ins with children. We do have at Tailem Town, not at the asylum because there was never any children in there. But I do like to remind people, we don't know. I've been doing this for probably 30 odd years, probably all my life, but I still can't tell you and prove to you that ghosts exist. I can give you a few stuff that has been very curious, but I can't prove to you that it was a ghost. And we really don't know what we're dealing with. Is it a dead person? Is it just assuming whatever we want it to be? If we want it to be a child, it'll be a child. If we want it to be something a bit darker, it'll be a bit darker. If it wants to be an alien, it'll be an alien. I don't know. I always say I'm not an expert after all these years. All I can say is science hasn't explained everything yet. It's like other stuff I go, whoa, hang on a minute. And I will try and rationalize stuff first. What we're dealing with, I haven't quite made my mind up on that yet. I'd like to think it is that our consciousness continues and we become something after we die, because that's reassuring to us all. So, yeah. But no, children ghosts. Tailem Town, yes, it's been non-hostile. It's been quite playful. We're all very fond of what's there. So
now, obviously, during your tour, you can't predict if there's going to be any ghosts on tour or not. I mean, realistically, they live their own type of life, and they have to decide whether or not they want to show up. Do you ever get those nights that are just eerily quiet, and then you go check your EVPs or something like that, and everything's red hot afterwards that you're hearing?
Oh, yes. Quite often we've come away from places going, gosh, that was quiet. That was just painfully quiet. And you're dying a death, and you've probably done it on your own tours where you're dying a death, just going, please do something with your tours. But it's like you and me, we don't want to talk to everybody every day or want to interact with people, everybody. But yeah, you'll go back, and more so on our investigations without the public, we'll go back and we'll go through it, and it's like, oh my God. One of them was actually in America. We did the Villisca axe murder house, because I tend to come over to America and hire places once a year, which we haven't been able to do because of COVID, obviously. And one of them was Villisca. And I honestly didn't think we had anything. I sat there. I didn't feel right in the house, mainly because of its history, not so much the ghosts. It just felt wrong. And I took all that home. And I didn't go back on the footage for about 2 years, I reckon. It's been sitting on my computer, and I finally thought, you know what, I'll do a little episode thing on it. EVPs, I didn't even put them all on the video. I only put the kind of the clearer ones on there, but it was almost like there was constant whispers in that house, and it was just, we thought nothing. That's why I didn't look at it. I thought, well, that was quiet. Well, not bother looking at that. So, but yeah, it does happen.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's kind of the exciting part, when those little things that you don't expect all of a sudden show up and kind of re-energize what you're doing, because there's always something new. I do want to ask you, though, regarding your tour, have you ever had a problem with psychic people coming in and making very bold, brash claims, or trying to move spirits on during the tour?
Look, we have. There are. Look, I've got friends who are psychic, and my friends are the first ones that'll say. I used to work with one on radio, when I did the commercial radio, the paranormal show on there. Liz, she was very genuine. She was very modest, and she said it's not our place to move them on. All right, they're there for whatever reason. It's not our place to do that. And then you'll get the other side that'll come in going, oh, it's my job to save these people. And it's like, it's their home. They're there for whatever reason. They're not always there. I don't even think they're stuck there because they're not always there. Some nights you walk in, the place feels empty. Other nights you walk in, you go, oh, yeah, there's something here tonight. So I don't honestly think they are. I think they choose to be there for whatever reason. I think in some of our venues, they feel safe. They've been there, like for in jails and asylums, people get institutionalized. They feel safe. They'll reoffend just to get back in, type thing. So I don't know whether that's going on. But yeah, I do get the ones. We're not a type of tour that lets people wander anyway for safety reasons. So we tend to be on top of it a lot. So
I had in one of our buildings this beautiful spirit that we called Mary. And we would put K2 meters on the floor, separated by about 3 feet. And Mary loved the tour. And literally she would go step inside these 2 K2 meters, and both the meters would immediately go to red when she was there. And she actually used to let our tour guests come in and feel her. Okay, to feel her energy, her temperature, and it was really cool. And then in my town, there's this one real dark psychic where everything is evil, everything is from darkness. And Mary, we've had many a psychic in on our tours, and I'm always checking up on the place, making sure all the spirits are okay with what's going on and that they're understanding we're doing this to raise money for their home and so on and so forth. Well, all of a sudden this psychic one day clears Mary, and Mary is just gone. And that Mary's boyfriend, or what we think is her boyfriend, was in another room, and he can get violent. If he doesn't like you, he will go straight into like real dark mode where everything starts smelling like sulfur, and he knows his power. And so I said to the psychic lady, so because I kind of know sometimes, I said, what'd you do? She goes, I sent her to the light. I said, why? She wanted to go. I said, she's never wanted to go. She's never wanted to go. Why would you think that? She goes, I don't know. I'm just doing my job. She asked me to go, so she left. And I'm like, you are so full of crap.
Yeah.
You know? And I ended up shutting down that building because I knew what was going to happen with the other spirit now. And it wasn't going to get pretty. And I contacted a couple of our psychic people that I trust, and they started looking into it. And she actually sent her almost to like a purgatory type of area.
Mm.
And we tried to bring her back, but Mary just wants nothing to do with the tour now.
Yeah.
Nothing. Ruined it. And will barely come out to play. Barely. And it's so heartbreaking because she used to just, like, when we would show up for the tour, everything would go, like, every machine we had would light up for her. And, you know, it's amazing how ego on the human level can get in the way of somebody's fun time.
It's what comes, I've always said that's what it comes down to, is the ego. And it's like, we don't understand what it is we're dealing with. We don't understand what they're dealing with on the other side. Ghosts exist. All right. How do we, and it's a question I've always asked myself as well. How do we know when psychics are sending things off to the light? How do we know where they're being sent? We don't understand it. So they're there for whatever reason. And the good psychics that I've talked to, that I'm good friends with, they agree it's not our place. They're there for whatever reason. So I could be wrong. We could all be wrong. But there you go.
AF in our chat room has a question. Alison, have you investigated anywhere else in Australia? Example, quarantine stations, most haunted house. What's your take a tour around Australia for us?
All right. Yeah, we've done the quarantine station, if you mean Sydney, Manly one. We've done that. We like to do what we call on the road, which is free live stream investigations for you lot to listen to and watch on our Facebook page. So we have been pushing a lot, going to new places. We've done theatres, we've done hotels. We've just come back from a place called Melrose, which is in the southern Flinders, where we were invited to do a old museum that was actually once a police station and lockups, hotel there. Mount Gambier Jail. So yeah, we do get around. We're not just, we do the tours in our venues, but we're still investigating. And yeah, we've been pretty much a lot of the big places: Beechworth Jail, Beechworth Asylum, Arradale, J Ward in Ararat. We get around.
What is the most haunted location you have investigated?
I hate doing that. I'm one of these that I don't like that tag. It's most haunted here. This is the most haunted hotel in the country. Because how do you quantify that? All right, I may have only gone in for one night, got nothing happening, but it doesn't mean to say it's not haunted. So do we get the ghosts to line up and we count them? So it's a tag that I've never been comfortable with as to what's most haunted. Where have I had the most activity when I'm researching was actually in America. So again, West Virginia Penitentiary was one of them. Licking Jail was another. Here in Australia, probably because I'm in them all the time, my own venues, Zedward and Talem would be top of my list for having the the biggest activity out of all the stuff. Mount Gambier Jail, which isn't my venue, that's another jail that's down south to me that we were at. That again was we didn't think we got much, but you listen back and it's almost again that chatting and that whispering going on. So I think, places are haunted. It'll either be active or it won't. And somebody might say Zedward's the most haunted for them because they had something that night. Some people go, didn't get any at Zedward. Talem's most haunted because they just happened to have the stuff happen to them on that night at Talem. So depends when you go in, I guess.
No,
that's just my view. That's just my view. Again, I could be wrong.
Because you can't judge every place. You can only judge what happens to you. And I think that's a very, very fair comment going on. And I think that's very cool. Alison, we're about 20 seconds away here from going to break here at the bottom of the hour. I love the comment by Jules Rules basically saying that he had his butt grabbed in the shower at quarantine station.
Oh, yeah, that's quite an interesting place, though.
Well, we're going to learn more of your favorite hauntings, your favorite evidence that you've caught, and much more questions from our audience here. We may even get into a little bit of UFO talk, since I know you like UFOs too, but maybe a tad. Alison Oborn is our guest tonight. Her website, AdelaideHauntedHorizons.com.au. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio when we return. All right, we're clear.
Excellent. Guess more dry mouth after talking.
Excellent.
Catch up with some comments.
Oh, they're loving you tonight. They're loving you.
I try not to look at. I am sorry to anybody watching. I try not to look at the comments because it kind of throws me off. I like to look at them afterwards, going through.
Hi, Rex. How are you? Good night, gorgeous magic maiden. I don't think we're going to be talking a lot of UFOs later, so that might be in the back end of the final half hour about Pine Gap or whatever. Not many people know what's happening at Pine Gap, so.
I used to be in all that field for about 10 years, but I haven't been in it for about 20. Although I did have an experience out there.
Oh, nice.
Talk about that in the last half hour. If people want to know where we've done, because I know people are asking about where else we've done, if they go to our website, to the About section, they'll see other investigations, and that lists everything in America, England, and Australia that we've investigated. So there's about 120 of them. So we like to get around.
Right. That's awesome.
So then I've done blogs on some of them if they've got links, and I'll have blogged about them. But they're the ones we've done.
Hi, 509er. How you doing? Oh, yes. Got to ask you a quick question here. What's your opinion of eating breakfast foods for dinner?
I was told to bring that up. I had toast at lunchtime. Does that count?
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it.
I boiled eggs yesterday.
You're better than that. Oh, my goodness. All right, fine. Fine. All right, our time of the night here where let's piss off a Dutchman. Let's do it. I know Gary is watching. Probably got a bag of Cheetos resting on his stomach while he's watching, and a glass of iced tea, room temperature, not even iced. MightyMooseBeard.com, one of our sponsors. I'm using the winter blend because we're closer to winter than spring right now, and it's about to get cold here in Canada. Now, remember, if you want to upset a Dutchman, the first thing you do is you ask him, can I have a deal? There's nothing more painful than a Dutchman hates than giving up money at any time. So with Gary the Dutchman, you go to MightyMooseBeard.com, you tell him you want to use promo code SOR 2019, and he's going to cut you a deal. And this is good stuff, too. It's all homemade. It's all natural. There's no chemicals. And all you do is put it in your drop box. You pull that hair that's pulled out of there. You drop it into your hand like so. Then you just massage it in. Just massage it in, right like that. Makes you feel good. It's good for the hair, right? Ladies, it's even good for you. It's not just for beards. If you want to, oh yeah, and the mustache too. Thank you.
Right.
If you want to, use it because you got all this stuff on your hands still, you just rub it into your hair. That's it. It moisturizes your hair, helps really, really control split ends. If you got nice hair, just massage it in. That's it. Gives you a nice sheen, and it feels great. It smells great. Go to MightyMooseBeard.com. Remember, if you want to piss Gary off, all right, if you want to really upset him, tell him you're going to use promo code SOR 2019, and he will get really upset. He's grinding his teeth just as we speak about this right now. Can't handle the fact that I'm telling people to get a deal. He's like, I'm Dutch, Dave. I want to make as much money as I can off the people. And I'm like, no, Gary, you can't do that. You can't be Dutch to be on Spaced Out Radio. And, that's just the way it goes. MightyMooseBeard.com. Tell Gary you want to use promo code SOR 2019, and Gary the Dutchman will help you on out. There we go. Sorry about that, Alison. Had to get that out.
Good. Got to get out of your system.
See? There's one pissed off Dutchman right there. Gary the Dutchman. He's upset right now. All right. His beautiful wife is probably just shaking her finger at him. Gary, you're Dutch. That's what she say. By the way. And Magnus Vermagnuson, good to see you, my friend. Thanks for coming on in. And Rex Goodrum, welcome back. Thank you to Ozzy Steve, Spooky, Cat Chaser, Kaysen, and Smithy for the awesome super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show each and every night. And we're going to kick it off here at the second half of the show right now. Second half of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight. Ghosts in Australia. How haunted is it down under? We got a great guest tonight. Alison Oborn is with us. We're talking ghosts all night long. She has a great tour if you're heading to Australia in Adelaide called AdelaideHauntedHorizons.com.au. And I'll tell you, she has some weird places here. And Alison, welcome back.
Thank you.
I got to ask the typical ghost question here. What's your scariest encounter that you have had while ghost hunting?
Scariest or most intriguing? I don't really get scared anymore, but one of the unnerving one was actually in Margam Castle in Wales. We had gone up. There's only two of us. I hired the places just for two of us, get rid of tours and stuff. We'd gone up and we'd gone into this very, very back room. So the only way out is through three other rooms, down the stairs, and through the castle. And we were up there and we started to hear heavy male breathing in the room. We're doing it, no lights or anything like that in there. And the swishing, that swishing of material that you hear when somebody's moving. And you could hear it circling us in the room. That was probably the most unnerving because you knew how far it was to get out. And the most memorable would actually be the Adelaide Gaol. The one that as I said, I'm rational. I will try and rationalise things. And back in 2007, we had two documentary makers come in and they wanted to make a documentary on the ghosts there. They didn't believe in ghosts, but they knew it'd be a good one to do. So it's my job to take them around. And the jail at that point was at threat of being lost. The government were going to close it down as a museum back then. So we needed the public on side. So I hedged my bets. I said, I'm just going into the office. I'm just going to go and get a torch. And I went into the office and I went, please, if you can do anything, please do it tonight because we need these guys convinced and we need to keep your home open. All right. So it started in one of the yards. One of them freaked out because he said he thought he felt his cheek being stroked. And he said it wasn't a breath of air, it wasn't a cobweb. He could feel the fingers, but it felt feminine. It got better when we got into this other building. So I'm standing on the stairs and I started talking about the ghost that's been seen in there, which is of a guard. We call him Sir out of respect. And just started talking about him when we started to hear heavy footsteps coming across the gantry upstairs from around the corner. And there was no guessing it. There was no going, was that a footstep? This was the click of the heel, squeak of fresh leather as the foot lifted off again. And it came to the top of the stairs behind me. Now I'm standing there going, yes, because their jaws dropped. It was that definite. But I didn't expect what happened next because it started to come down the stairs. All right, this is the most mind-blowing event I'd ever had. You could clearly hear heavy boots coming down the stairs towards us. There was nothing to see. There was no person. It walked between me and another guide, and footsteps sound boring until you have the sound of somebody walking right past you and there's nobody there. As I said, you could hear the leather, like fresh boots. The two documentary makers stepped aside because they said later they felt like an authoritative figure was coming through and they had to let him through. And then we listened to the footsteps walking off down the hallway and out the door at the end. Mind blown, absolutely mind blown. That would be, however hard I try and rationalize that and try and find a rational explanation, I haven't yet. So it's just it. Apparently I did an interview with a guard who worked there when it was a working prison, and he came up with the same story. He didn't know about mine. He said one of the guards at night had put his book down thinking another one had come off duty. He could hear them coming down the stairs, came out. You could hear the footsteps, but they were looking through the staircase, the hollow, and there was no legs. There's nobody there. They could just hear the sound. So That would probably be my most memorable. Was it frightening? You didn't have time to be scared. It was just like, oh my God. So I tend to get excited now.
No kidding. No kidding.
But
Question
passionate.
coming from KF. Allison, do you know or have you experienced the like of the Min Min lights in the desert?
I haven't seen the Min Min lights. I have had a weird experience out there. I was just talking about that, mentioned that earlier. I used to drive. My old job was relocating those camper vans or mobile homes. I don't know what you call them over there. But my job was to take them back to base, go and get them, take them, drive them back to base. And I had gone to Ayers Rock, or Uluru, as it's now called, to go and pick up a van. And I was driving back through the desert, what you would call the desert. It's very old. The one thing that you do get the sense of out there, by the way, is it felt ancient. You feel it out there. And it was getting dark, and we're not supposed to drive at night because of kangaroos. You've got a problem with kangaroos and scrub cattle out there, so you don't want to be hitting it with the van. And I pulled over because there's nowhere to stay. You just pull over at the side of the road to sleep. And I was just like getting ready to sleep. Now, earlier, just before that happened, I actually watched what looked like a star, but it kind of came in bright and then it went out, but it didn't move. It didn't drop like a meteorite or a shooting star. It was very different. And then as I'm driving, there's another one to the side, just came in and then went out again. So I thought, well, that's curious, but that's fine. Did the curtains on my van, started to get ready with the sleeping bag, and then suddenly the whole van just went poof and lit up. All right. I have never had this. I've seen it in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Never had it happen. Now, the light was coming from above. It wasn't coming from a spotlight from somebody looking for kangaroos. This is out in the middle of nowhere. And yeah, I didn't hang about. I just got back in the driver's seat and I thought, I don't care if the scrub cattle, kangaroos, I'm going to be driving it out of there. So there was no missing time or anything. It was literally stop getting the sleeping bag out and I'm in that driver's seat and I'm out of there until I get to somewhere where there's, I was looking for somewhere with trucks and parks. I could park with them after that. So yeah, great, fun days. But not the Min Min lights. That's the closest I've come to having something weird out in the desert. So,
all right, let's move on. Sinister Vax is wondering, have you ever been to a place so scary that you had to leave ASAP?
I haven't left. I have come across places that really challenge to stay there, but that's what we're there for. So you try and work through that. You try and learn techniques to keep yourself calm. Even our own venues can change. There's been a time, there's 2 times. Actually, one of them's on YouTube this time. There was one time at Tailem Town, the old pioneer village, and we'd had a tour. And it was only 4 people on that tour because it was the week before Christmas. And 2 of them were a no-show. So all I had was 1 couple to take around this village at night. And everything was fine. We were all going well. And then we came into this one particular... I hate it. I never like going in on my own.
We froze up there for a quick second.
Oh, are we all right?
Now we're good.
Did we? Okay. I'm not sure how much they missed
About
there,
2 seconds, if that.
Okay. So, yeah, I was in the building and I started to give this couple the stories in this building, and we started to hear shuffling footsteps down the other end. There's only me on site because there's only 2 people. I didn't need anybody else up with me. You can see in the video, this one is on YouTube, by the way. You can see in the video, we are starting to get very edgy. Even me as a tour guide, and I'm used to this. I very rarely, it was the whole atmosphere in that building changed. You can hear the footsteps shuffling a little bit closer. You can hear the footsteps behind the counter. And I was contemplating actually pulling that tour, which I've never done since I started tour guiding in 2004. You can hear what I didn't know until I went back and listened to it. You can hear something playing with the camera. You can hear clicks on the camera as if it's trying to work out how to turn the camera off, because the camera is flooding the place with light that we can't see, infrared. And you can hear breathing on the microphone of the camera. I can't get anywhere near that camera. It's high up. The whole feeling that night, even the couple that were there felt how it had changed. The whole feeling that night was whatever that was, suddenly, it was hunting. It felt extremely, extremely predatory that night. That's the best way I can describe it. I've never felt that in my venue. I've been there 11 years until that night. To the point where I threw the camera in the back of the car. I didn't bother dismantling it off the tripod on the back of my car. And I said to the couple, do you want to just hang on? Because I'm just going to put the alarms on at the village. And we all drove out the gate at the same time, because there was no way I was going back into that dark village that's kind of 115 buildings on 15 streets on my own, knowing there's nobody else in the village but me. I've seen it there. I know it's there, and it's just no way. A very different feel that night. So that's the closest I've come to leaving as soon as possible, to packing up and just going, we're pulling the tour. It felt predatory. Didn't feel nice at all. Don't know what it was. Don't know why it was different that night. So
it's one of those things that
just happens.
I think we need to, assume too that there are times when ghosts are going to be upset with other ghosts.
Yeah. And sometimes I wonder whether, it's very well going into these venues, but it's like I explained to people, you're on these tours. We may not be dealing just with what's at the venue. They can bring something in. If they've got dead relatives, they can actually bring stuff in. If there's been accidents in the area, I've had that happen too, where it's gone a little bit different to what we were expecting, because it's not with the venue. We're sitting there, we're calling out with all this equipment to talk to somebody. Then is it always the people that are with the venue that actually respond to that? So
isn't that the truth? All right, let's move on to another question here. Narda is asking, Alison, what do you hear on the technology that you use?
Oh, okay, what do we hear? Look, we use a lot of stuff. Most of what's out there we've probably got, because we want the tours to be able to touch and feel it. I don't always say it's relevant. I've got to the stage where I don't knock anything anymore, and I'll get into what we've heard. I don't knock anything anymore, because at the end of the day, we're using this day in, day out. And whether I believe it's a broken radio, I'm not going to talk ghost box here, or something's managing to manipulate it. I've stopped trying to make that call, because we have had weird stuff come out of it that would say that there's something else going on. One of them was on a two-way radio, so which you don't expect. We had a guide at Taylor who, whatever was there, did not like him. And I don't know why. He was never comfortable there. And he had been taking a second tour, and he'd let the tour go. And then he was supposed to come back to me to take a tech talk, talk about that equipment. He never turned up. So I got two and said, Ash, are you coming anytime soon to give this talk? And he was really flustered, because he said on his two-way, one of my other guides, who was sitting right next to me, never called. One of the guides, whatever it was, had mimicked his voice and said, Ash, we're finished at the shop. We're now over at the Peak Railway Station, which is the furthest corner away from where we actually were. So he thought he was running late. Said, yeah, no problem. I'll go there now. And he said he rounded into this street and it already didn't feel right. Got halfway up and realized there was nobody there. It's almost like it was trying to segregate him away. Remember this, we're all on the same channel. So we should all get the same message coming through our two ways. And it was only him that got that message, and it mimicked the voice of one of my guides to do that. So I've given up trying to judge now. It seems if it's electronic, it seems to be able to manipulate it. Ghost boxes, we've had good results with that. Just what we hear on the technology is I ran a ghost box in another part of that asylum, and it's stuck on a cookery show. I thought, yeah, it's just a cookery show. Got it started again, took it home and listened back to it. There's actually an under voice I didn't hear at the time. And the under voice is a male voice that comes through and goes, hello, is that Alison? Oh, so I'll just put that down. So we do get stuff coming out the ghost box. We do get EVP. One of the best EVPs I ever caught was in the asylum. and it was a child's voice as we were packing up. Saddest one I've ever had. And it's a clear child's voice that comes over mine that just goes, "They took off my clothes." Like that.
No.
And that's what they used to do, because you can kill yourself with a shirt. So they used to take all their clothes off them before they put them in the cells. If you've got a sick child, it's not going to be conducive. So yeah, it's the saddest one. I'm going to try and put that up at some point so people can have a listen to it. So I've just got to, I'm behind on video and stuff with running a business as well.
It does happen. All right. Crow Creek is asking, have any spirits ever followed you home?
No, look, in 30 odd years, maybe once. There's always that exception, isn't there? 30 odd years, and I have been to some pretty bad places, both overseas and here. My house is beautiful, all right? I've never brought anything home except once, and I don't think it was a bring home. I used to say on my tours, hey, Taylor, nothing ever follows me home, you're fine. And then one night, just one night, I was lying in bed and this shadowy figure went past my bedroom window. And I live out in the middle of nowhere. There's no roads come past me. So I'm kind of, my rational mind is going, you know what? If I really believed my house was haunted, I could actually quite believe that was a ghost going past. And I was trying to do that psychological thinking type thing. And then I turned over to go to sleep. And then my bedroom door, the handle went and the bedroom door opened. I thought, oh, it's my husband coming to bed. And of course, he never got into bed. And I'm like going, wonder where he is. He was down in the other room with my kids. He was nowhere near the bedroom. So next morning I got up and my guide used to stay the night. And I said to him, this really kind of weird thing happened last night. And he said, well, so did I. I had a really weird thing happen. And I said, well, what happened to you? He said, well, he got woken up because something banged on the window and then the glass bowed outwards. He said it was really weird. And I thought, oh, it's a bit weird. And then my daughter got up, came down. We were all kind of standing. And she said, Mum, I had a really weird night last night. I said, what do you mean you had a weird night? She said, well, I was woken up and there was bangs all over the room. It was just like bang. And she doesn't even believe in ghosts. And it was just like bang, bang, bang in the room. And it kept her awake all night. And it was fine the next day. It was almost like it said, but I can if I want to. I just choose not to. It's all right. Message taken. So, nothing bad. It was just as if a point was made. So they're happy. Look, as I keep saying, they seem to be perfectly happy where they are. For whatever reason, they're in these places. Why would they come home with a stranger? You know, they seem to be happy with it. That's my experience. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I can only go by my experience, and everybody's experience is different. So I certainly wouldn't knock anybody else's stories where they've had it happen.
Definitely. All right. Jules is asking, have you ever come across indigenous spirits?
Yes, maybe. I try to respect the indigenous culture here, because they have their own beliefs, they have their own people that deal with stuff like that. And it is very, very sensitive. So when we were researching, we get a call from a house that would be to do with indigenous, then I kind of put them on to maybe contacting some of the elders and trying to go through that way. We didn't touch it at the end of the day. Have I ever come across it? Yes, I was actually invited by the Indigenous to come and investigate somewhere in Adelaide, and they were interested to see what we would pick up. And it picked up pretty much what they were experiencing, and it picked up, I don't want to go into too much because it was a private one, but it backed up and it made them feel a lot better as well, because it answered some questions for them that they were worried about. So another one, I did a uni theatre, and we actually we had stuff happening in the theatre, which it's fairly modern theatre, nobody died in it, but they were having things happen. And my own guide actually saw down on the stage, and he's a scientist, by the way. He's got degrees in physics and everything else. He actually, for the first time, full on saw a shadow, very tall, in that very indigenous Aboriginal stance of when they used to stand on the one leg and they used to put their other foot on just where the knee is and hold the spear. It's kind of a very famous stance of theirs. And he said he was looking right at it, and then it just vanished. And it turned out that was a very important Indigenous area where the uni is. So have I gone out my way to investigate it? No, I respect their culture. And I respect their culture is there to deal with any troubled spirits that haven't gone on their journey to where they should be.
Makes a lot of sense. Michael is asking, have you ever seen a full body apparition or shadow people?
I've only ever seen solid shadow people. That's the only way I've ever seen them. So yes, that one that was in my face, for those who weren't listening earlier, I had one right in my face when I was doing a tour, thought it was a guest, solid black shadow. Same in Tailem, the Pioneer Village. I was taking a tour there one night, and we've all got to have that defining moment, don't we, before we're definitely sure there's something there. And it was a weird night. Everybody was quite nervous in the church, and one person got quite sick. People were being touched, poked, prodded in there, and one person got a little bit nauseous, so they were taken out to the car park. And I was just chatting to the tour, and one of the tours started to sing a hymn. And I thought, you know what? If anything's going to happen, it's going to be around him. So I got my camera. Have you ever had that regret? You should never do something. I got the camera and I turned it towards him. Now, the camera is normally turned to the door that we all come through. While I did that, we all heard somebody come through that door. Two of us saw it walk in. I'm standing there watching the silhouette of a man, about 6'3", probably. He's quite tall, very lean, walk in through that door, just a solid shadow of a person. He went into the back corner, and that's where I lost him in the shadows. Now, he was the same build as my guide, so when somebody asked me what was that, I just said, don't worry about it. So it's just Ash, my guide, coming back in. I was saying, that's just you, Ash, isn't it? No answer. Ash, that is you. No answer. Got my torch, and there was nobody there. And then you'll see how excited I get. It's just like once I knew one seen coming in, full on. It wasn't out the corner of the eye. It wasn't like brief. I watched the person walk in. I thought it was a real person. But I've only ever seen them like a solid dark shadow. I've never been lucky enough to see a full. I don't think there might have been one. I'm just suddenly remembering stuff here. I've never actually, apart from maybe once, seen them as a full body apparition.
All right, we got 45 seconds left. Let's get to another quick question here from Crow Creek. Is there any certain time of the day you get more activity?
No, when we were researching, obviously tours, we tend to focus at night, so we get a lot of stuff happening at night. During the day when we're researching, we used to go out and do daytime stuff because we wanted to know, do you get as much during the day as you do at night? And we found that if the place is active, if the place is haunted, you'll get as much on the equipment as you will at night. EVPs. I've got EVPs from daytime. It's the same, basically. But we prefer to do it at night because the world goes quiet and you don't get that contamination of birds. And we're going to be 45 seconds. I've probably gone over, haven't I?
No, you're perfect right there.
I get going.
Adelaide hauntedhorizons.com.au down in Australia. We have her for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio to kick off hour number 3. Then it's John Hudson with the UFO Report, Shirky Poo's News, and the Thought of the Dave. A jam-packed hour 3 is next on the mighty SOR. All right, we're clear.
Wow, that's gone really fast.
It's been a lot of fun.
It's like, wow, it's like gone already, nearly half an hour left.
Oh, I hear you.
Well, I like the animal one.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
I've got lots of those. Shut me up again.
Shh, for just a couple of minutes. Shh. Zenzabil, how you doing? Clear Floss, how you doing? Good to have you guys back. All right. When we get to the break at the next hour, when I say goodnight to you on the air, just stick with me right through a little bit into the commercial break, and I'll say a proper goodnight to you.
All right. Not a problem.
Really appreciate you doing this.
It's been good. I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, it's been awesome.
You come on not knowing how you're going to talk for 2 hours or whatever it is. And just to get into a conversation with somebody and you just forget the time.
We make it happen. We make it real. Lavera Lucchini, welcome to Spaced Out Radio's chat room. Thank you so much for joining us. So many new faces in here that you brought. Thank you for that.
That's good. Now they'll keep coming back, I hope.
I hope so. We're good afternoon entertainment.
While you're working, you can have it in the background. You can listen and watch.
You got that right. Grandmaster, what's going on?
It's 3:30.
We're killing time. Thank you, Phil Tan, for subscribing. Appreciate that. Yeah, we got a lot of good questions here. I'm just going to run with this. Lots of strong questions from the audience here.
It's good.
Chillin' Villain, good to see you.
Oh, Grandmaster's going to have a scotch. I think I'm going to need one after this too. Join you.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you, Zenzabil, for bringing over Lavera. Appreciate that. I'll have a sip of water for you, buddy. Cheers.
That's what I'm drinking, sadly.
Michael Morris, finding good ghost stories is harder than it seems. You need people who can talk the story too and tell the story with detail. That's kind of the hard part. But we are searching for them. We know we have to do a few more, so we are searching for them. This has been wonderful. Wonderful tonight. Terrible Times, how are you? Welcome back. I've decided to grow the beard out a little bit because it is firewood season, and I got to look really lumberjack when I go in. Fire up my chainsaw for the first time, maybe tomorrow. Yeah, I think tomorrow I'm going to fire up the chainsaw for the first time. Go fill up the back of my truck. Come on in. That'll be fun. We got about 90 seconds. Just over 90 seconds. Brutus, how you doing, buddy? Yes, I do have a still chainsaw. I just hope it's not windy tomorrow because it's really windy today. And you don't want to go fall trees in the wind. That sucks. And the other issue that I have is my entire tree area where I went my last couple of years is all now burned after the forest fires this summer. So now I have to go find a new area to find trees. There is something about, I'll tell you, Chillin' Villain, you'll know what I'm talking about. There is something about cutting trees. You know what I like is when you hear, like when you're cutting the trees and you hear something really big that you cannot see moving around your tree line where you're cutting. I had that happen not last year, the year before, where we were cutting into this area, and up here they allow you to cut all the dead trees because those are what start forest fires.
Yeah.
And there was something big walking through. I think it was just a big moose. Definitely wasn't a bear. Owner, thank you for coming on in. All right, guys, we're about 15 seconds away. Thank you to Ozzy, Steve, Spooky, Cat Chaser, Kaysen, and Smithy for the super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show. Here we go, everyone, with the third hour starting off right now. Get your horns up.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Dave Scott's my name. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune us in. Thank you to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Fanfaronade. Fanfaronade is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, Alison Oborn is with us all the way from Australia, talking about the hauntings of South Australia's Adelaide Haunted Horizons. Yes, her website, AdelaideHauntedHorizons.com.au. And we're so thankful to have you here, Alison. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
It's been fun.
Enjoyed it. We're going to start off with a question from Tony, who is asking, have you ever come across animal spirits?
Yes, now. And it's nice to think that that happens, that your pets and stuff go on. Two stories, one at Tailem Town again. He used to have horses there, Clydesdales, and one of them, Rose, she was the last one left, and she got put down because she got what we call sand colic, which is where the gut twists. So they had to obviously do the right thing by her. But I had a tour a few days after that, and I was coming through the streets, and there's a little corral area that says, don't feed the horses, bitey horses. So as we're coming through, one of the ladies said, where's the horse? And I thought she'd been to the village during the day and had seen Rose. And I said, well, unfortunately, we don't have the horse anymore. She was put down a few days ago. And she just went, but I've just heard it. I've just seen and heard the horse in the yard there. It's like, okay, she'd heard it's not. And a tour a week after, coming through, said exactly the same thing. Where's the horse? Well, we don't have a horse anymore. But I've just seen it standing there when we came up to the yard, past the yard. So the other one was with my friend, just to give people a bit of hope about pets and stuff like that. So now I have German Shepherds, and so did my friend. And I had one that was very old. His name was Saxon. And he couldn't walk well. I also have horses. So I was down at the stables with my friend dealing with a horse, and I needed something from the house. And I said, can you go back to the house and get me this bandage? So she went back to the house, and as she came down, I saw Saxon trotting along just behind her there. I thought, wow, he's looking very sprightly because he used to have wobbly behind him, but he was trotting along quite nicely. I thought, okay, didn't think anything of it, got the horse all bandaged up, and then went to go back to the house. And I said to Ros, my friend, I said, where's Saxon? And she said, what do you mean? I said, well, he came down with you. Where's Saxon? And she said, he didn't come down with me. And I said, yeah. And I described the dog, and she just went white because that was her dog that had been put down a couple of years earlier. And I'd never seen the dog. Went back to the house. Saxon was asleep in the house. He hadn't even moved. So, and she did say she wondered whether because she was absolutely besotted by him, had wondered whether the dog was still with her, because sometimes she said she felt him in the car because he always used to travel with her. So yeah, that was a nice reassuring story that maybe even they carry on.
No kidding. No kidding. All right, let's get to Jules' question. Have you ever had or experienced poltergeist activity?
Yeah. Definitely back in that building I don't like at Tailem Town. 3 times I've had mannequins thrown. I had a very quiet night. You know those nights that you die of death, nothing's happening. And I'd kind of challenged. I don't provoke, but I had challenged in there a little bit. Just from the responses we're getting at this building, there appeared to be an abusive relationship. What's that? I'm standing there going, did you used to hit your wife? If not, why don't you try it with us? And are you too gutless type thing, which I don't normally do. And then 2 weeks after that, I came into the building. I had to go in on my own to dismantle a camera. And all I had was a tiny little torch, and that was it. And I was behind the counter undoing the battery pack. Didn't hit the counter at all. And it's full of mannequins. The mannequin at the end of the counter suddenly went flying across the room and smashed on the door opposite. Now, if you look at the layout, even if I had knocked that counter and unbalanced the mannequin, it should have fallen in a completely different direction and only halfway across the room. This one just went bang on the door. It's yeah, I've seen that happen 3 times in that building. So yeah. Definitely. That's why I don't like that building very much. It's only one building out of 150 and I really don't like it. So
What's that like to all of a sudden be in a situation with poltergeist activity where you have zero control of what is going on?
yeah, it's you don't they have control. Yeah. And it's amazing to watch when you know it's an impossible trajectory that it's gone in. And I've not witnessed it very often. Only about 3 times in that, well, most of them in that building. I've had things move, but not ferociously move, like being thrown, which I would put more poltergeist type. So I've had balls flying off things, and which another video up online.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, let's get to another question here. Lynn is asking, is it hard to get the names of the spirits? If so, why?
I don't know why, and that's just it. At the venues, we're constantly asking. Occasionally, we will get something coming out and a name, but we've tried to get the names for that entity that comes into the church. We've called him Ted, but we don't know what he's called. Then not telling us. He just seems to like interacting in other ways. Ian Child, we only found out through going through the newspapers on his name. He hasn't actually said, my name is Ian, although Ian has come out a couple of times when we've not been asking. So, yeah, it's hard. And I'm not a medium. I'm not a clairvoyant. I'm not psychic. So it's not that I can talk to them. And I don't know why. Even when I've had family loved ones coming through, what's your name? Doesn't say. It just gives kind of meanings and messages that mean something, but never seem to give the name. So exceptions to rules. I've had a couple, but largely, yeah.
Does that bug you?
Yeah. I keep saying to them, I want to be polite. I want to be able to call you by a name. And it's like you're talking to a stranger. You want to know the name so you can talk to them and get to know them. And yeah, it does bug me. But sometimes I wonder, do names mean anything over there? If it's energy. I find the same thing with sex as well. Not obviously that, but we ask the question, are you a man? Are you a woman? And I rarely got an answer to that. When I changed my questioning, in life, were you male or were you a man? In life, were you a woman? That seemed to get more of a response. So if gender doesn't mean much over there, do names mean that much? I don't know. I wished I had the answers. I wished we knew it all. We don't. I'd like to know one day. Well, we might know one day.
Chris Mo in Austria, in Austria, is asking, why did you quit UFOs?
It was never my first love because I was born in a haunted house. It was always the paranormal. But the other thing is with UFOs, you would get a report when I was with the research teams. We would get a report, we would log it, we would go out there, but the chances of that happening again at that point was you're probably not going to be seeing it again. Hauntings and haunted houses, you've got a better chance of going back there and having it repeat, whereas you didn't with UFOs. So I'm interested in UFOs. I still love to have a little keep up with it and just see what's happening in the field there. Do I think there's aliens? I think we'd be very arrogant to think we're the only ones in the universe. Are they from planets? I don't know. Are they interdimensional? Are they from, I don't know. It's an interesting subject and I am interested, but ghosts were always my biggest draw card.
So it's a personal thing. It's nothing against
it. Is nothing against UFOs. I still keep up with it. I've got friends who are still in the field. It's just for me, I wanted to know about life after death. That was more my calling, if you like. UFOs were kind of a stepping stone that I could do something until I found what I really wanted to do.
Well, hey, you found something that you enjoy, so why not?
Love it.
No, absolutely. You know, and let's go to KF here, who is asking, is it more likely to see ghosts on a full moon?
Oh, exceptions to the rules. But for me, from my experience, other people might think differently with what experiences they've had. I absolutely hate full moons. We used to, when I was researching, we used to get things happening and then the moon would come up and then everything would go peaceful and quiet. Tours, I do keep patterns, by the way. That's the one pattern I find is a full moon. It seems to be weaker activity or not as much. But exception to the rule, when I saw my best sighting coming in that church that night, that was a full moon. So, yeah. Affects the living. You talk to any police and ambulance and emergency people, full moon seems to, and going back to asylums that I work in with the history and heritage, lunatic. All right, Luna actually came from the fact that you already knew back then. Full moon can cause reactions in people. One of the famous asylums here, Beechworth, the person who ran it used to walk around at night, if it was a full moon, with an umbrella to shield himself from the moon's rays. And he was the one in charge. So, yeah.
All right.
Activity.
Have you ever been gifted anything by ghosts?
Oh, that's a hard one. No, I don't think I have. I've had a lot of things that have fallen into place rather remarkably. Gifted, as in a present. Actually, no, I don't think I have. I'll give one where it can give in other ways, not so much a present thing. Is my husband, he's allergic to bees, and we're on a property, and he got attacked by a swarm of bees up at the top there. I'm very, don't kill anything. I'm a very nature, don't kill the bees. So he came down, he was pretty angry because he'd lost his glasses, prescription glasses, very expensive. He'd knocked them off and he'd spent ages up there trying to find them. And he said, he's going to get rid of the bee's nest. And I said, no. And he said, I can't go up there. And I said, well, if I can find your glasses, we leave the bees alone. I'll make that as a deal. So I went up there and I sat on a log and I went, please. I said, I don't want any harm to come to, we want to live in peace and we want the bees and we want everything else. I just need to find these glasses. And I got up off this log and I walked in a certain direction a few feet and there they were, right at my feet. The bees were never touched. I won. Yeah, it's a hard one because I haven't had a present, but I've had lots of things happen that have been almost a thank you, if you like. So you're getting into a weird thing because I have had some weirder side of me that I find hard to
Okay.
As a rational, it's just irrational. The rational in me goes, that never happened. But I had,
But it's
for a very
okay to
short
embrace.
time.
It's okay to embrace the woo. It's
Yes,
okay.
I had I had a couple of dead people come into my dreams once, and it was the weirdest thing. I used to work on horses. Her father, and the only connection I had with her father was he'd walk past me in the stables to this client, and he passed away, and I kept getting him in my dreams, and he'd be behind me and be pushing me towards his daughter. I'm a very rational, 100% rational person, so I'm like going, no, this is ridiculous. And so I thought, I'll go and talk. I'll go and see if he's there. And I went on the property and I knocked on the door and there's nobody there. And I said, that's it. I've done it. All right. And I said to whatever's there, if you're real, if you're not just a dream, I want something weird to happen with wedge-tailed eagles. I was about to walk my dog in the forest. I want to see 2 wedge-tailed eagles doing something unusual. So I went down to the forest and I was opening the car door, slamming the boot, getting the dog out, putting the lead on. And as I turned around, there's a wedge-tailed eagle sitting on the post next to me, which should have taken off with all the noise I was making. And it took off. And I thought, no, that's not good enough. That's just one. And then the second one took off from the ground. And it was like, oh, God. And I felt I had to. And it's the most embarrassing thing to do is to go up to one of your customers, all right, and say, hey, I've got your dad in my dreams, your dead father in my dreams. And I thought, I've got to do it because I made that pact. And I did it. I was so uncomfortable doing it because I don't do that. And she looked at me and she said, oh my God. She said he'd written a book before he died of poetry and they were just publishing it and having the publishing party. And she had been wondering if he would ever be there. And it's like, well, I think he is. So, and I've had lots of good things happen after it, as if it's a thank you. Things will fall into place. So I've given, they'll give back. So, and that's really weird because I am so rational and I just feel weird talking about that stuff.
That's all right.
So.
You can go to our store on our website, get yourself a woo t-shirt.
Go and live the woo.
You need more woo. Jules is asking, what's the difference between ghosts and spirits?
A ghost is supposed to be more, I'm just going by what people think they are. Ghost is supposed to be a more earthbound spirit that is in a place. So spirits, they're supposedly all around. It's your loved ones that are hanging out. You might not see them, but they're there. They're the two. Ghosts are supposed to be more, on the earthbound plane than the spirits, is my understanding of it.
Do you think this is all part of a major phenomena? Jules is wondering.
Jules, that's interesting because I think we try and clump it. What I'm starting to, after all these years, I think we're trying to take all this stuff and we're trying to put it in the same basket. And in all honesty, I think that's the wrong thing. I think there's more stuff, different stuff happening. I think the universe is just an amazing place and we don't understand it. And I think we're trying as a human race, trying to put it in that one basket. And I don't think we can. You think you've got it and then it'll change. Something else will happen. So, yeah, I think we don't understand it, but I don't think it's all one thing that we're dealing with.
Chillin' Villain is asking, do you think it's possible aliens and ghosts might be one of the same?
Anything is possible. We don't know. But it's interesting. That's what I said earlier. We don't know what we're dealing with. Is it that something will take the form of a ghost? Because I really want a ghost. Therefore, I'm going to see it as a ghost. Somebody over there might want to see an alien really badly. And maybe it'll present as an alien. We don't know. And I'm never, ever going to say, I know how it works. I think, yes, an alien can be a ghost because we don't know. We don't know.
We got 4 minutes left. I got a bunch of questions. We're going to race through here. KF is asking, Alison, do you see orbs?
Have I seen an orb with my own eyes? Yes. Do I like photography on orbs? No, because that's just me again as a photographer. Because there's too much creation of environmental factors. But have I actually seen one? Yes, I have. So are they a real phenomena? So the min lights, are they kind of a similar thing? So yeah.
All right. All right. Owner says, my mother passed away a year ago. Whenever I see her in my dream and then wake up, it's 3:33 in the morning. Whenever I work at night and feel her presence, it's 3:33 a.m. Is 3:33 a.m. a specific sign?
Well, everybody thinks that witching hour is 12 o'clock, but it's not. It's actually 3 a.m. in the morning. So a lot of people seem to have things happen about 3. I'm not personally into that, but if you're waking up and having it at 3:30 every morning, and if that's happening every day, it's going to become more unusual to you, and maybe that's the sign in itself. All right, because if you woke up at sporadic times, you just go, it's a dream. But if you're woken up at that time at 3:30 by the presence of your mother or grandfather, then you're going to take it a lot better. You're going to take it a lot more seriously that it's something odd. Does that make sense? I don't know if I explained that correctly.
I think it makes perfect sense. Over on Twitch, Electric Gregtar is asking, should the world be ready for any kind of worldwide ghost event? And if so, how?
Oh, I so wish. Hey, look, the ghost has just blurred me out as well. I honestly, we've been trying to prove that ghosts exist for about 100 and, well, probably longer than 150 years. And nobody has really definitively proven that ghosts exist. And I think nobody's going to take any notice of it until the science community does. They're not going to look into it. It's all woo-woo, a lot of it to them. I don't think, sometimes I wonder if we're even supposed to know, if it's our thing to know. Maybe we do have to just pass over before we know for definite. Do I think there's a big ghost thing coming? Personally, I don't. I think it'll just trek on the way it does, being the mystery, and I think it will come down to our own personal experiences on that subject. And I think that's probably the way it's meant to be.
Alison, I want to say a big thank you for you coming on Spaced Out Radio over here in North America for us to learn about ghosts in Australia. It's a first for us to talk some ghost hunting with people over there. And you were just wonderful, a complete delight for me and the audience. Do me a favor, tell everybody where they can find your ghost tours.
All right. So, well, you've said the website, hauntedhorizons.com.au. A lot of the stuff we do, which is live streams and stuff for you lot guys, it's on Facebook. So Adelaide Haunted Horizons on Facebook, or YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, which same name. You'll find us. We're actually doing a charity event. If anybody wants to tune in on Saturday your time, we're doing a big charity event, 8 hours. It's free. It's online. It's on YouTube, our YouTube channel. And we're raising money for the cancer council in Australia, because we've all lost, obviously, some of us lost loved ones. So we've got a whole lot of speakers, some from your country, some from ours. So if anybody wants to follow us on Facebook, you'll find that there.
What a pleasure to get to know you. Thank you so much.
It's
for
been
coming
fun.
on Spaced Out Radio. It was a lot of fun. And it
I've enjoyed it.
very, very quickly. It really did. It really did. And big thank you for you coming on Spaced Out Radio. Alison Oborn, once again, website. And I just lost it. Oh, there it is. AdelaideHauntedHorizons.com.au. Coming up next, we have the fedora-wearing John Hudson with the Unbiased UFO Report. We have Shirky Poo's news and the thought of the Dave, if we get to it. Spaced Out Radio continues to the final half hour next. Great show, Alison.
Thank you. That was really good. I really enjoyed it. It's a great way to spend an afternoon chatting about your passion.
That was a lot of fun. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Hope everybody enjoyed it.
They did. Very positive. Very positive.
Oh, good. Good.
Yes. Yes. I really enjoyed that. So thank you so much. And
my pleasure.
You enjoy your time. We're going to have to do this again.
Anytime.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
it's like chatting with friends now, isn't it?
Well, we are now. We are now. So really, really appreciate your time. I'm going to let you
That was
go
fun.
because I have to get ready
Thank
for
you.
our UFO report. But thank you so much. You're
No
absolutely
worries at all.
beautiful. Take care, okay?
Okay, thanks a lot.
Good night.
Bye.
That's Allison. She's wonderful. I'm very, very happy with that. Very happy with that. Stetson John, Fedora John, whatever you want to be called. What's happening? She was amazing.
But the thing was so great about her was that not only was she very knowledgeable, very pragmatic, and appeared to be, very thorough and honest, but she had so much passion and love for what she's doing that it just made it so much fun to listen to her.
Yes, definitely. Definitely, I would agree. And very level-headed, not too high, not too low, just very calm and smooth. And this is what we got. Believe it or not, it's all up to you whether you want to tune it in or not.
Absolutely. That spider she was talking about, Dave, that's a hunter spider. And they're like, they get like this big. And I had a friend who was driving in Australia and he put down his visor and there was one sitting on his visor right in front of his face. He nearly crashed his car. But the funny thing is they're not poisonous. But boy, do they eat big things.
All I'm saying, man, if I come across a 9-inch spider in my car, I'm blowing that prick up. Okay, the entire car has to go. It's gone. G West, how are you? Good to see you, buddy.
Someday I'm going to go to Australia specifically to get over my issue with certain insects and reptiles.
You're gonna die. You're gonna die.
Do you know about those little tiny ones? Those little tiny squid that are invisible? Like they're so small you can't see them, and they're in the ocean. And if they go up your nose, you die instantly.
Yes, I've heard of those. That's why you don't.
They have them there too. Everything. They have everything there.
Anything that can kill you is in Australia.
It's like the Walmart of deadly animals.
Absolutely. Aisle 5, tiger sharks. Aisle 6, great whites.
It's really astounding.
7, saltwater crocodiles. Oh, you want to go for a swim in the river? You want to go water skiing? Can't. Bull sharks. Oh.
It's amazing.
Nope.
And like as a kid, you think it's just alligators because you see that Dundee movie and you think it's just alligators. The alligators, those are the easy ones. They're big and loud.
Mm-hmm. No way, man. No way. That shit just kills you. Like in the Olympics a few years ago in Australia and Sydney, when they had the swimmers swimming near the Opera House, and they actually had to have divers, military divers, in the water to push any sharks away. No effing way am I doing that. No. Wrong.
Oh, man.
The gorgeous Jennifer Hawkins has arrived. Better late than never. That's her nickname. Eva, how are you? Good to see you. Trevor, what's going on, man? Honestly, I would sooner come face to face with a moose than 98% of the creatures in Australia.
Yeah, but the thing is, you live to learn. I was in Tahiti once, and like I was talking to local people, and they said you grow up learning. You never sit on the ground. You build your bed like 4 inches off the ground. Like everything's off the ground because there's so many little things they may not kill you, but they can make you very sick.
Absolutely. It's a war to survive down there, man. Yeah, G West, I flush my toilet before I go to the bathroom every night now because of a video on YouTube of a giant Australian spider hiding underneath the lip. I saw that and I do that too now. Yes. The thing was like that big. No friggin' way, man. That's why I'm glad I live where I do, because snakes aren't here. The little garter snakes are, okay? But big snakes, no. Okay, no rattlers, no boa constrictors. They can't live here. It's too cold.
Well, and honestly, like we have black widows and we have
5 seconds, dude. Hold on. 5 seconds.
Yeah, no problem.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Let's get to the UFO report. Yes, the fedora-wearing John Hudson is back with an update on the unbiased UFO report that happens every couple of nights here on the big show. And John, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Always appreciate you here, buddy.
Well, glad to be here, and thank you everyone for sticking around. It's been quite an interesting couple of days. Quite a lot happening in the last couple of days.
Let's start off with an article on thedebrief.org. That's Tim McMillan's news site. Great publications over there about anti-gravity. What is going on here?
Okay, so this is really cool, and this is a lesson that everyone should pay attention to, because at the end of what I tell you, I'm going to talk about someone that most of you know, and who was a major figure in this whole operation. So essentially what it came down to is that there are a bunch of physics lists floating around the internet. I'm on one that I think Jack Sarfati runs. There's all sorts of other ones around. And they all have different people on them. Some are full of NASA people, some are full of JPL people, some are full of paranormal people. And essentially, a guy named Mark Sokol, and Mark, if I mispronounced your last name, I apologize, basically got together with a couple other people, specifically Tim Ventura, and it's decided to take all these different lists and bring those people together and start doing Zoom calls where people could present what they're working on. And this grew pretty quickly from 50 to 60 participants to 500 participants. And now they have it's an invite only for presenting, but they publish it on YouTube so anyone can go watch it. And every 2 weeks they have this it's many hour long presentation and some big people have presented for this group. Sonny White, Dr. Sonny White from NASA, NASA fame, who's now on his own. The guy in the UK that got the M Drive stuff working. A bunch of significant people, and the email list and the debrief went after these email lists and researched the people on them. And these lists were full of senior people at, MIT, Harvard, JPL, NASA, you pick it. I mean, everyone was in there. And I can attest to it. The list I'm on has some crazy people on it. And basically they brought all these people together, and now they meet every 2 weeks. They've had 22 meetings so far, and they're making some progress, and they're getting a lot of attention, and they're getting the right people contributing.
Now, does this have a tie to UFOs and the propulsion systems that many people have been asking questions about?
Well, depends on who you ask. Okay. To some of the people within the group, not really. Perhaps inspired, perhaps awareness that there are other possibilities inspired by. However, one of the primary people in this is someone that you all know very well, which is alien scientist Jeremy Reese. And he is one of the founding members of this group. And so, he's been around for a long time, been doing YouTube presentations for a long time. His entire motivation for getting into this was UFOs and trying to figure out how to really build one. Mark Sokol, I believe, has some interest and background in it, but he's what I love about him is he's all about taking this to an engineering level as opposed to a theoretical physical level. So they have Jeremy and Mark and a couple other guys have actually built a lab, and they're actually doing like good science, like good actual like testing of these different devices. And it's exciting. But what I want to point out is that Jeremy I mean, he's one of us. I mean, he's been around for a long time, and he finally put all of his passion towards something important, and now they're doing something really big, and it's a good thing.
No, I think that's great because, I mean, if we're trying to blend the two, I mean, look, technology is going further. We now have people who are talking about time travel on Twitter. That has been in one of the private groups I'm in right now. That has been a very big topic of discussion because everybody is trying to figure out how these extraterrestrials, ultra terrestrials, whatever you want to call them, are getting here. So, I mean, now that we have people talking anti gravity, okay, we have people talking about time travel. I mean, could we be on the cusp of something very big scientifically here over the next 10 to 20 years?
Oh, I would argue before then. Look, like what even before this whole UFO thing broke out, in almost every single field science that I track, there have been independently incredible advancements in the last 5 to 10 years. And now what's happening is all of these little advancements are now coming together, and they're becoming aware of each other. And what's going on right now, I mean, people talk about cloaking devices being a big deal. People, cloaking devices happen. They're now, like, they don't work like Star Trek. They're a lot more complicated, but you can make things disappear, no problem. There's ways to do it with power and without. I know someone who's very close to a fusion project that is making huge inroads. You look at the M drive stuff. You look at the leaner stuff, the low energy nuclear reaction stuff that used to be called cold fusion. There are so many different areas that are just exploding right now. And even without the UFO stuff, it is a one hell of a freaking time to be alive if you care about this stuff.
That is awesome, my friend. Now let's move over to another story here where researcher Joe Murgia, who is Brillo pad hairdo, is top notch when it comes to UFO Twitter. And he has been all over an interview that happened about former Nevada Senator Harry Reid and his interest in UFOs. What came out of that?
Well, this is just a really quick another great example because people have been complaining about this lull in information and so forth, and and they've been using it as an excuse to go after each other. And what Joe has done is what everyone should be doing because there's been a crazy amount of stuff happening for the last year or two, and the truth is most of it we've barely scratched the surface. And so what he's doing is he's going through and he's creating transcripts of all these interviews that were done by significant people all around. And this one is an interview that Senator Harry Reid did for the New York Times in May. And, I'm going to, I can't go through all of them because of just all the crazy points that he makes. But basically, Reid basically goes through and explains not only what his different opinions are, but he gives timelines. He gives guidance to where he thinks things are going to go. He talks about situations he was in. I mean, this is an incredibly detailed interview, and I'll post. I mean, my goodness, Joe put down like 20 something steps of things that just blew his mind. But essentially, this is a fantastic interview that I think a lot of us either watched and didn't pay enough attention to or just glossed over. And Joe's using this downtime to basically dig into this stuff. And, this is really good information. For people that have any holes in their knowledge, this stitches it together in a beautiful way.
It really does. And the one thing that always frustrates me about former Senator Harry Reid was the fact that he didn't start talking publicly about this until well after his days in Washington, D.C. were over. Yep. And, people will say, well, he still has a lot of pull within the Democratic Party and within Washington, D.C. He's one of those, highly respected former senators that still carries a lot of clout, especially in the security and defense of the United States. But for me, man, how much of a difference would it have made if he was the Mark Warner or the Marco Rubio, considering Area 51 is in his state? A lot of UFO sightings are in his state. There's a lot of mystery. You know, I mean, it didn't come out until after he was in office that he had visited Area 51 numerous times. Numerous times.
I know, and I know this is hard for people to accept, but the truth of the matter is that if he had done half of the things he's done since he got out while he was in, two things were very likely to happen. One, he would have lost all his real political clout. So his ability to actually do anything for the Democratic Party, which was his primary purpose, would have been severely crippled. Or two, to be very clear, there's a good chance he would have ended up in jail. Because when you are actually signed in and read in and active in those situations, I mean, the Gang of Eight, I mean, they hear an incredible amount of information, and there's a trust level. And if you violate that trust while you're in that role, boy, man, all hell and damnation will come down on you.
No, I understand that, but he still could have got the topic out. He still could.
No, yeah, agreed. No,
right?
no, I agree.
It would have had a lot more clout if he would have said, look, we got some things out there that we can't prove. If he would have had this same message while he was in office, it would have been a lot better. I mean, he's the guy who's been going after this story for 30 years. 30 years. And in my opinion, he's the guy, along with Robert Bigelow, who saved Bob Lazar and saved Lazar's butt. Now, I mean, there's a lot of ties here to what is going on. And I think he really knows what is happening. You know, hey, look, I fully agree with you. He's not going to come out and say, you know, anything that is NDAs, which are lifelong, that he will ever speak up publicly. You know, and it's too bad because, I mean, it's like being so close yet so far away. But, I mean, he owes it. These were the people who elected him to do this. He owes it, in my opinion.
Well, the thing that's hard to remember is that his the other things he was doing, the other stuff that he was doing for Congress and for the Democratic Party, were always a higher priority than this issue. It was always a higher priority than this issue.
That's sad when it's all about the party and not the people. But that's today's politics, unfortunately.
Agreed.
Do we see any more coming out of Harry Reid or any of the names here in the near future?
I would ask you, I think I would phrase the question a different way, and that is that, are any of them going to stop before they pass on? I would argue that each one of these folks are going to continue to just, occasionally give interviews and leak out more and more information, and will get more bold and will get more confident that they can do so until someone slaps them back or until they pass on. And so my guess is that we will continue to hear from Harry Reid for some time.
It'll be interesting, though, because in the end, the question now becomes, who's going to be the next Harry Reid? Is it going to be Mark Warner? Is it going to be Marco Rubio? Is it going to be someone completely else who has a real interest in this subject?
Yeah, it won't. My guess is it won't be anyone that we currently know about. But to be honest with you, I haven't actually looked closely at who the Gang of Eight is now, who they've been in the last 10 years, and made any kind of guesstimates on where each of those individuals are going to go. Because you got to realize Rubio is going to only do it as far as that he believes it helps his presidential chances. If he thinks any of it gets in the way of his chance of becoming president, he won't touch with a 10-foot pole.
Very true. Are you still surprised, though, that President Biden hasn't come out and said anything about this yet, while everybody around him seems to be talking UFOs?
Not in the slightest. To be honest with you, and I know I'll be unpopular in saying this, but if I was Biden, that's exactly what I would be doing. Because here's the thing. There is a process going on, and there are sides in that process. And the president needs to stay above that process. And now if NASA comes out with something, if anyone comes out with something, he can then stand where he sits and say, wow, that's really interesting, But, he starts getting involved in it, and now he becomes part of the game, and that completely hampers his ability to do his job.
Very true. Very true. John, big thank you for another high-quality, unbiased UFO report. We always appreciate you coming on Spaced Out Radio. And stick around. Stick around. We'll hang out afterwards. Let's get to the news. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the odd. Police in Wisconsin are attempting to locate a $1,400 bronze sculpture of a nursery rhyme character, Humpty Dumpty, sitting on a toilet. The Madison Police Department said the sculpture, named Dumpty Humpty, was stolen from an art fair on the Square's vendor's booth. The vendor said she had seen two men lingering around her booth while she was setting up Saturday, and the sculpture vanished along with the men when she left the stand for a short time. Police say they found security camera footage of the two men described by the vendor leaving the area with the sculpture. Here's an awesome one. A Maine fishing crew's accidental catch of a 600-pound tuna became about 350 servings of food for a local soup kitchen. Ross Alex, captain of the Catherine Ann, said he and his crew were fishing for lobster bait off the coast of Belfast when their nets captured something unexpected. We saw some kind of fish popping off the surface, so we were getting ready to set, and we made our set and kind of hauled in our net back. The fish went gone. We were like, where'd they go? We got to our net like 3/4 of the way back, and there was this giant tuna. Alex says the vessel was not licensed to catch bluefin tuna, so they attempted to free the large fish, but determined it was too entangled in the nets to revive. Jamie Steves, owner of J&J Lobsters, contacted the Maine Marine Patrol to explain the situation. Steves' contact made the necessary calls to get the boat's crew permission to harvest and donate the tuna. Doug Schartzer, a friend of Steves, was summoned to butcher the fish and arrange it to be donated to the Belfast Soup Kitchen. Officials at the soup kitchen said the 600-pound tuna became about 350 servings of food delivered to the community on Tuesday. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the people of Waldo County for us to be able to give them this fish through Belfast Soup Kitchen, said Cherie Merrill, executive director of the Belfast Soup Kitchen. Wonderful story there. Wonderful story. Now, this is a sad one. This one's going to break our hearts a little bit. The ivory-billed woodpecker is among 23 species declared extinct by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The service has also proposed removing them from the Endangered Species Act, which protects species under threat. In all, 11 birds, 1 bat, 2 fish, 1 plant, and 8 types of mussels have been declared extinct. The FWS says it made the determination based on rigorous reviews of the best available science for each of these species. Each of the 23 species represents a permanent loss to our nation's natural heritage and to global biodiversity. Bridget Fahey, who oversees species classification for the Fish and Wildlife Service. And it's a sobering reminder that extinction is a consequence of human-caused environmental change. The ivory-billed woodpecker was once the U.S.'s largest woodpecker species, but the last commonly agreed sighting was in Louisiana back in 1944. The species was officially listed as endangered in 1967. Another bird declared extinct is the Bachman's warbler, which was one of the rarest songbirds in North America. It, too, has been listed as endangered since 1967. Hate when that happens. The money was supposed to be used to create modern art, and it was, but not in the way a Danish museum expected when it gave an artist the equivalent of $84,000. In return, it received 2 empty canvases. The artist, Jens Honig, said the blank canvases made up of new work of art, titled Take the Money and Run, that he calls a commentary on poor wages. One thing it's not, he says, is a theft. It's a breach of contract, and a breach of contract is part of the work, he said. According to Danish public broadcaster DR, the work is that I have taken their money, Hanning stated. The Kunsten Museum of Modern Art in Aalborg isn't satisfied with the explanation, but that hasn't stopped it from displaying the 2 canvases as part of its exhibition called Work It Out, which explores people's relationships with work. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses. It's a lot of fun that we do this. Today's Thought of the Dave is, why does everything in Australia want to kill you? Eric with a K, we're his 4th favorite show, starts it off with the government. Kevin, King George III, the 4th, William the 7th, Queen Victoria ruled Australia as one large Guantanamo Bay detention camp. If that wasn't enough to turn you into a bloodthirsty killer, what happened when King Edward VII added his personal touch probably didn't matter either. Charoos, you didn't mention their women. Oh, they're dangerous too, I've heard. Cat, kind of like the South. Walker, we also have other fatal creatures like the box jellyfish, the funnel web spider, and the blue-ringed octopus. We don't have bears, though, Dave. Mickle, toughen the skin, Dave. This morning, as I woke up, I wrestled 2 crocodiles and to punch up with a kangaroo. Rob then replies, that's BS, mate. We're not allowed to leave the house anymore, so the animals are no longer bothering us. Oh, yeah, I get it there. I get it. Vincent, because they are bitter at everyone who calls them or that says that they live down under. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Dave. We'll do it all again next time. Thank you to John for the unbiased UFO report, Shirky Poo for the news, and Alison Oborn for a great show on Australia's ghosts. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Everyone in our chat rooms tonight, YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, yep, we've got room for them too. Good night. That's a good show. Very good show. Get John back in here. How you doing, buddy?
Good, good. By the way, if anyone hasn't what's is it Roy? What's Roy's YouTube again? You did an interview with him like about a month and a half ago.
The Quest Nation.
Yeah, everyone. I mean, check out the whole podcast, but definitely check out the interview Dave did with him. It was a lot of fun to listen to. I had a really good time.
Oh, dude, Quest is such a great interviewer, man. You know, he really makes you feel like you're at home. You know, and it's pretty cool because he's just so chill and just like so casual. It was like having a beer with your best buddy and just shooting the crap, you know. And shoot the breeze, and it honestly, it was fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's really well worth listening to. You guys should all check it out. It was a lot of fun, and I actually learned something about wrestling. So there you go.
Oh, I can finally take the headphones off. I'm off tomorrow, so I have some time to play.
Oh, there you go, man. She was awesome.
Yeah.
Like that was cool. I really enjoyed that a lot. That was Man, that was fun. That was totally fun. It was really interesting hearing her talk about her own stories and
Oh,
like
right.
how she felt about it. You know, just the amount of skepticism that she applied to her own experiences was quite impressive, actually.
Oh, totally. Totally impressive. No, she was very eloquent in the way she speaks too, you know. I
Yeah,
mean,
agreed.
she was very, very good.
And was she talking to you from Australia?
Yes.
Oh man, God.
By the
I
way,
just
I want to show
Go
this
ahead.
picture. I want to show this picture here. All right. Let's just click on it right there. And where are we here? Share. Check this out. We got Sonny here in his brand new Chad Smith t-shirt.
Nice,
Uh-huh.
nice.
Looks awesome.
That's a cool shirt.
Hi, the Ronald Penton. The Ronald Penton. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Look at that shirt. Sonny, you're looking great. Looking great from the Paranormal Chop Shop. Fantastic. His caption, I'm Chad Smith.
Nice,
Absolutely. Fantastic. Absolutely
nice.
fantastic there. That made me happy. Can't wait to put that one on the website.
To me, it's like it's hard for me sometimes because I don't want to sound like one of these old misty sort of folks, but I mean, I was very lucky. I grew up in a time and a place where I was involved in the internet at a very early stage, and if I could have imagined, well, I take that back. We talked about it all the time, that just the hope we all had back then that we would get to this point where you sitting where you are and her sitting where she was and all of us sitting where we are could all essentially have this very personal interaction with color and video and all this stuff. It just, I don't know, there's just something about it just still kind of amazes me. It's really cool to see,
It is
because
very
she was crystal clear. I mean, she came through beautifully.
Dude, when I started in radio back in 1998, never did we think that this was coming. I mean, the internet was still in its infancy. We were using it to write stories and it was great, but we never thought about this with social media and
Do you want to know? Do you want to know why a small group of us knew? It was by accident. I was working for a startup doing an online gaming system, right? Like playing games against each other. And one of the guys wanted to write a voice codec so that when you jumped into a lobby, you could give each other hell, right? You could razz each other, right? Because you're playing games, right? And so we built a voice system into it, right? So when you dropped into the lobby, you could voice chat with people, but it was all over like modems, right? But we did it well, and it was beautifully done. It was really clear. And within 2 years, there were as many lobbies of people not playing games, just talking, as there were lobbies of people playing games. And we ended up having to split the company into two companies. We launched a whole nother company called HearMe.com. And basically all it was free long distance phone calls. And this was back in like 98, about that time. It was 97, 98. And so we got an early view of what was coming. I mean, it was crazy.
in other words, you used to VoIP with Vonage?
No. But I did have Prodigy and back before, and I mean I used to run a BBS and I even worked for Nortel. Which I know I'm not supposed to mention Nortel to Canadians, but it was they were a hell of a company.
Luke 99. I'm going to work and you guys are still going at it. Beetlejuice. Welcome, buddy. Welcome. Brazelhoff wants to know if you have blue eyes, John.
Yes, I do. Although my daughters are prettier than mine are.
It's like my boy. We all have blue eyes, and my boy has just these giant blue eyes. I don't know where he gets them from, but God, does he have gorgeous eyes.
You know, I just was doing some reading the other day, and they believe they've actually traced blue eyes to a single individual, and
Really?
it wasn't actually that long ago. It was only about 8,000 years ago, and all I kept thinking was, can you imagine the hell that poor guy had? I mean, they must have all thought he was possessed. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
imagine if you're the first person in the entire world born with blue eyes. I mean, they probably either made him a shaman or ran him out of the village.
Give me 2 seconds here, John. I just got to hear this. Much love to you. Get your horns up, Bumblefoots, right now. Boy, did I cut Much love close. To you. Get your horns up, Bumblefoots, right now. Holy cow. I nailed that perfectly. All right. Sorry about that. That's the only thing to clear up here.
No, and I have to say, you know, I know I'm biased here, but my opinion is that blue eyes are cool. Green eyes are a little above that. Green eyes are pretty damn impressive, especially depending on your skin color. There are certain people that have a certain skin tone with green eyes that it's just, I don't care if you're a boy or a girl, you'd look freaking amazing. And then I discovered there are people with purple eyes.
Really?
It's more of an indigo, but there are people with more of an indigo color to their eyes. They're very rare, but they do exist. That'd be a cool addition to your genetic pool.
So where are we going? What are we going to chat about? What does the audience want us to chat about? Put your questions in capital letters. Stetson, John, and I are here, holding down the fort.
Does everyone want to talk about the Wilson documents?
I am so sick of the Wilson documents.
Oh man!
I'll let some juice out. I got in trouble from Tim McMillan from the debrief the other day, and he was right. He was right, and I apologized because on Ralph Blumenthal's article about the experiencers.
Yeah.
Hi, Cecil. How you doing? The debrief put a caveat.
Right, yeah, disclaimer. Yep.
Disclaimer. And I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't agree with that.
Well, I kind of split hairs. I thought the whole disclaimer was fine until they got to the very last statement. The very last statement in that disclaimer that bothered me tremendously, because basically what it said was that the personal stories were only included at the request of the author and for the purpose of posterity. Like, it was something along those lines, and that bothered me. But the rest of it, you know, it is what it is. It's just. But what did Tim have to say?
Well, he kind of said, "Look, dude, like, you know, we can't prove these stories. We got to be careful. You know, we're trying to do journalistic integrity." And I agreed with him, because Tim, they do a lot of good work over that. But knowing who the writer was of that, I'm just going to grind my teeth a little bit here.
Yeah, but no, I know.
Tim's a buddy. I'm going to support Tim. And, you know.
No, and I think they were right to call out that, you know, that they could not qualify any of that. There was no way to validate or investigate any of that.
You know, didn't bother me. But on the flip side, look, people in journalism, people who are skeptical, the scientific community is going to have to start to learn and accept very damn quickly, okay, that the experiential side of this entire phenomena is going on, is real, and really needs to come to the forefront. I mean, we've been saying it for the last couple of years. The experiencers have all been pushed to the side. All right. And number one, they're like people with leprosy. You know what I'm saying? They're investigated by absolutely every part of the UFO community. And to me, I don't like that.
And you know, honestly, Dave, I think it's done. I think it's done in a very dishonest way, because I think what's really going on is that for all of us that have actually looked into it, and like, and I've said before, I waited as long as I could to look into the abduction side of things, right? And I know that not all experiencers are abductions, but my point was I only got into really the experiencer side of it, maybe 2 years ago, or something like that. And I think the real reason to keep a lot of the experiencer stories out of the topic, to be really bluntly honest, is those stories, it's too much. And I know it's a horrible thing to say because you guys experienced it, but that I'm sorry, man. Like, those stories are freaking scary. I mean, they are scary.
Absolutely,
right?
They are. But John, here's the thing, though. The way the UFO community since 2017 has castigated, and I love that word, castigated, by the way. That's twice I've used that now. All right. And pushed aside the experiencers, the people who are like, we're the pros of what's going on here. We know what's going on. Dude, they have no clue. Unless they've been taken themselves, okay, they have no clue.
Well,
it isn't about seeing some friggin' lights up in the sky. That has nothing to do with it. Okay, when you wake up paralyzed in your bed and you can't move because
lights are fun.
Rays around you, or you wake up and you look outside and your entire house is glowing. Or you get Carl showing up at your window.
Or Dave, like, honestly, like, even that stuff is in some ways reasonable compared to some of the other. I mean, I've heard stories where one child was having encounters, but one of them ended up becoming a public affair where like the family saw it and the neighbors saw it, and the way it impacted that family ruined that girl's life.
Absolutely.
Like, ruined that girl's life. And her friend ended up dying of alcoholism. Her friend that saw it too. She never recovered from that. I mean, this woman's life, I mean, now she's 60 something. She's got a great attitude about it. She's doing really well and everything. But, oh boy, she's been through hell and back. I mean, and the worst part of what she experienced had nothing to do with the aliens. It had to do with how the humans reacted to what they saw happen to her. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's awful stuff. Awful. I don't know. I think sometimes when people discount experiencers, it's because they don't have the spine to say what they're really thinking, which is, I personally can't handle the information you're telling me. It's not that I don't believe you. It's that I can't believe you because I have to keep my brain stable. And instead, what they do is they throw shade on it, and they make people feel like they're full of it, and they don't believe them. And that's a really dishonest way to do it. And that's not really what's going on.
You keep talking. I'll be right.
Yeah. And it's really not what's going on. That's not why they're doing it. They're doing it because the information is just too hard to accept. I mean, look, I'm just curious, like, how many of you in this, just in the chat room that feel like responding, how many of you have actually really dug into Mill Labs? Now, I struggle with Mill Labs, right? Because I don't want to believe it's real. I really don't. And, I don't have any direct evidence, but I know two people who I trust who swear up and down it's real. And I know, I mean, I don't know Melinda Leslie well, but I know her a little bit, and I don't know. But Mill Labs is freaking scary. I mean, scary. Those, like, what they do is worse than what the others do. Way worse. And that's supposed to be our, oh man, I just, ugh, gives me the chills. It's just not a pleasant topic. Not a pleasant topic at all.
Well, I will tell you this, and I mentioned this before, okay? But I'll say it again. I had one person high up that if I mentioned his name, people would know who I'm talking about, but I'm going to keep that between him and I. He looked into Samantha Mowat. Okay? Because he kept hearing me talk about Samantha Mowat. And he looked into it, into her channel, watched her videos. And he literally said to me, he goes, Dave, I can't do anything with her. I can't.
See,
And
now he was being honest about it. He was being on. He didn't make up some story about not believing her. He said he was just honest. I can't do anything with that right now. Right?
Yeah. He literally said she was so far beyond where we are in ufology right now that there is no way the public could ever handle her. And he was like, Dave, where is she finding this out? Some of this information that she has, where is she finding it out? And I said, dude, that's all coming from them and her experience.
And the thing for me, the thing that's really hard about her is she has assimilated it all into her own worldview so well. She has normalized it all in her worldview so well that she talks about it like she's going to the grocery store. You know,
Channels
it's
it.
like, and it's insane. I mean, it's like some of the stuff she says is just like, it's,
You know what the thing is that I know about Samantha, because I'm one of the only people who know her personally.
Right.
Okay. She doesn't watch the news, doesn't listen to the radio. Okay. She doesn't do a lot of like YouTube videos, or unless she's looking for something like meditation music or something like that. She's not on Facebook. She's not on Twitter. She's not on Instagram. Okay. Everything that she does, everything her guides tell her to do. Her guides don't want her on social media. She was on Facebook for a very short time, a number of years ago, but within a couple of months, she had pulled herself off. Okay.
Well, and I have to agree with a lot of that. I mean, I used to watch a ton of news every day. I stopped watching news years ago, and I am way healthier for it. One question I have though, and you may not be able to say or feel comfortable saying, which is, I totally understand, but how did you meet her?
Oh yeah, I don't mind. When
she's kind of a hell of a person to meet, considering what you do now. You know,
we used to hang out at this place which we called the farm. Okay, and friends of ours had this farm where our friends of ours at the time were no longer friends. They had this farm that had everything going on, everything. And we would go over there a couple nights a week just to see what was happening. And it started off with ghosts. Then Bigfoot came. That's where I had my Sasquatch sighting. And then the UFOs came. And then the aliens came. And so I was at the farm on April 10th, 2014. And that's where I saw the landing on the ground. And I didn't sleep for 5 days later. And then 4 days after, so on the 14th, the lady of the house calls up my partner and says, hey, are you guys busy tomorrow afternoon? My partner says, no, we're not. Dave is off and we're just kind of hanging out. She goes, well, would you like to come over for tea? I want you to meet this new lady I met named Samantha, who is completely gorgeous and has been a lifelong ET experiencer. And, after what happened just a few days ago, I'm wondering if you guys could come out and meet with her. So we arranged a time, and Samantha shows up, and all the ladies are having tea, and I'm sitting here pacing because I haven't been back to the farm since the landing. And that's where I met Samantha, and that's when our incident, 25 minutes into meeting her, where she walks me into the forest, and there's aliens in the forest. That was
So
That was
technically,
introduction to her.
it was just fortuitous that this farm, because of its, uh, what it was, just
Yeah.
happened to attract you and her to the same location
Yeah. Well,
in
what
the
was so
middle of
much about
Canada.
the farm, it was about the experience.
Right.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, like, you guys are in Canada. Like, I mean, like, Canada's a big place. Like, I mean, of all the places, and all the bars and all the, you know what I mean? I mean, it's like the chance of you two running into each other, it's kind of,
Yeah.
kind of
And,
crazy.
and you know what? After having that experience with Samantha, it really set the tone and the precedence on people who are experiencers and whether or not they are full of shit or whether or not they've got a legitimate happening. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. And it sets a different bar for it too.
Oh, huge, dude. Huge.
Totally different bar.
And Samantha, I mean, I don't know how to explain her without meeting her. I mean, you guys have seen her on the show and everything, but that's not who Samantha is. Samantha is a very loving, caring person, loves everything, but she's very forward. She's very direct. She doesn't have a mean bone in her body, but she also understands her role, and her role is very confusing. I don't even understand it. She's different than Chris Bledsoe, okay, because she doesn't have the religious aspect.
Well, and she's also, no disrespect to Chris, but she handles it so well. I mean, she handles it so well. I mean, to me, that's the one aspect of her experiences and what she's told. Because I've seen her interviewed on your show, and I've gone and I've watched the small number of interviews she's done on other shows and so forth. There's not a whole lot of her out there, and to me, what helps me kind of deal with what she says is the fact that she just rolls with it, and it doesn't really seem to do her any harm. I mean, I'm sure it's been hard at times, but now at this point in the game, she seems pretty happy and content. So it's like, I mean, it's hard to get too upset about it if you the person who's experienced it, who's telling you, it's kind of silly for you to get all upset about something that happened to someone if they're not upset about it,
Well, you know what? Paula has a question. Why do you all think some people have experiences and others don't? I think there are some seriously chosen people, number one. Number two, I think a lot of people have had experiences, but they write them off to nightmares or imagination or other things that may have happened.
And I would offer another. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, finish, please.
I was going to say I have another hypothesis that I've been playing with, and the thing is that I think one of the big mistakes everyone makes is they look for one answer to everything, and I think for most of these things there's more than one answer. But I think one of the possible answers is if you look at all the experiences people have, some people that only see Bigfoot, some people that only see spirits, some people that only see aliens, some people that see more than one, and then you look at the impact it has on them. To me, it really hints at the idea that you basically see whatever you need to, whenever you need to nudge you to wake up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And once you've gotten used to that, you get nudged again. And once you get used to that, you get nudged again. And for some people, it may be their upbringing, it may be where they live physically. It makes more sense to do that with Bigfoot. And for other people in other places, it makes more sense to do it with spirits.
But don't forget, too, there's a lot of people out there like Merle who have had Bigfoot and UFO experiences, but they don't like talking about them. So in their mind, it never happened. Okay? because they just like ghosts, or they just like Bigfoot, or they just like UFOs.
Yeah, and see that's hard because I mean no disrespect to Merle whatsoever, but if my hypothesis is correct, then what that means is he's not learning his lessons, right? I mean, at some level, right? He's being offered a chance to learn lessons, and he's not choosing to do so.
But John, don't forget, this is a scary thing for a lot of people. It's a scary thing, and especially coming out in public. Could you imagine the uproar that would happen if Lou Elizondo came out and said, "I'm an experiencer"? There would be uproar. There really would.
Yeah, it probably would be.
Okay? There would be
Probably
uproar,
would be.
right? People, I mean, everybody shits on Lou Elizondo. A lot of people shit on Lou Elizondo now. Could you imagine if all of a sudden he came out and said, "Hey, by the way, one of my messages or one of my experiences that I had was that I had to go meet a craft, and I watched beings come out of a craft during a landing, like Close Encounters of the Third Kind." Could you imagine that?
Well, it honestly, a lot of it depends on what really happened and what he was said, because the thing a lot of people forget is that not just Carter, but Reagan as well, both talked about significant sightings, and so I think you can be an experiencer at a detached level. I think it's when you actually interact with any kind of conscious entity that it becomes a challenge for people.
I will, you know what? And I have zero knowledge of this, okay? Zero. But I will guarantee you that Lou Elizondo one day will come out and say, "This is what I saw." And it's not going to be dots in a sky.
No, and I'll go further. I think that what he saw before entering the military. He may have had more experiences after that, but I think he had some experiences when he was younger.
I was told by someone within the community that a lot of the people who are working on this in Washington, D.C. are experiencers.
Yeah, but I think part of the challenge is that I think, well, okay, like take me for example, right? So if you'd asked me a couple of years ago, like, did you have any weird things happen to you when you were a kid? And I would have said, yeah, 2 or 3, and then like about a year ago, I decided to start trying to document the weird things that happened to me and write them out as a way of pulling more information out of myself. And this caused me to remember other things that I'd forgotten about. And this caused me to remember other things that I'd forgotten about. And now I'm to the point where I have 10 pages or something of stuff. And I'm looking at it going, whoa, I'm kind of shocked, I didn't realize how much weird stuff, and I'm not even done yet. I still got a bunch to put in there. So it's so part of me wonders if there's a lot of people who did have had experiences growing up, and they just, that's not how they labeled it at the time,
Sure.
and so they, so it wouldn't be surprised to me if there are, I guess my point is, I think there might be more experiencers out there than even they know.
I am 98 pages into my book.
Oh, hey. The end of my happy, boring life.
Yes, The End of My Happily Boring Life is the title of my book.
That is a beautiful title, Dave. That is a really good title. I really like that a lot. That's really good. That's really good. 98 pages, man. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, are you finding writing this helpful? Is there cathartic?
I've stalled on this book 3 years.
Yeah, but I mean, when you work on it, do you find it healing at all? Do you find it helpful at all? No,
I get frustrated.
One thing you might try doing is you might try dictating some of it.
I don't have one of those programs.
So do you use primarily Windows boxes, right? Like Microsoft boxes?
Yeah. I'm typing it on Google Docs.
I know Microsoft has a voice to text technology built into it. I know they do. I don't know how good it is, but I know they do. I'll look into it for you. There's got to be some. I know, like the ones I use. What I find is I have to talk a little slower than I like to, and I have to talk. I have to be a little more careful how like my cadence and so forth. But I for me, like, I mean, I can write, but I can talking just easy for me, obviously, right? Duh. And so, for me, like dictating a lot of this stuff turns out to be a lot easier than writing it. Because then it's just like you're telling your story,
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that something you want to, you hope to publish someday?
Yeah, I'll publish it. Hopefully within the year. I mean, it's 2/3 done. It's probably more 3/4 done. I just got to clean it all up. Then I have to have somebody proofread it, get a proper Ronald Murphy, the crypto guru, said he would read it and, color it up for me a little bit. Then I got to find somebody or a couple people who will write forewords for it, So.
Yeah, to me, I don't know. I mean, it's getting so much easier to do it now. Like I was really impressed what Kevin Day did. The fact that he wrote out his experience. He modified it a bit to make it fictional so that he wouldn't get in trouble, and he self-published it. And it wasn't even like anyone bought it, but it was a way of him getting it documented and into the public space and written down, And to me, it's like, it just seems like realistically, like all of us that have had anything odd happen, we owe it to ourselves more than anything else, and our kids and our grandkids to document all this, to get it down, get it written, I mean, just even if you don't sell it, just get it written so that people know, drives me nuts. Like I do a lot of genealogy, and drives me nuts when I like run into relatives and there's just nothing. But if I can find a journal or anything like that where people like wrote like first person, like what they were going through, oh my God, it's solid gold. It's so helpful.
Yeah. I got to go through it again. I do. Anyways, I'm going to get going here because I'm pretty worn out for my week. And, but I appreciate you coming on in, John.
My pleasure. Oh, well, the one thing I was just going to finish earlier is it, where I, so do you have any poisonous animals where you live?
South of me, about an hour, there's rattlesnakes.
Okay. But so same with me. Like I have rattlesnakes. Maybe for me, it's like probably half an hour, right? Half an hour away, you can find rattlesnakes. But I mean, nothing that's deadly. I mean, yeah, if you're really young or really old or you're really sick, a rattlesnake can do you harm. Same with a black widow. Really old, really young could do. But for the most part, all they'll do is just make you sick. You go to the doctor. Nothing that's going to kill you. I just don't understand why people live in places like that.
I don't know.
I mean,
called Australia.
Yeah. Although you live with bears, and I keep meaning to pull up some stats on how many bears kill people every year, because I still think it's drop dead funny that you play with bears and you're afraid of sharks.
Black bears are easy to play with. It's the grizzly bears you don't want to play with. So, but you got to have a healthy respect for them. If you get a black bear, the majority of them are going to be very, very scary. I mean, there are people who get chased every year, So, anyways, hold on a sec because I do have to talk to you about something.
Yep, no problem.
As we say goodnight here. Big thank you to G West, Aussie Steve, Spooky, Cat Chaser, Kaysen, and Smithy for the awesome super chats tonight. It's always a great way to support what we do on this show. Big thank you to all the veterans out there who tuned us in. You always have a safe home on Spaced Out Radio when we are here on a nightly basis. and we are here 7 nights a week. I'm here Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Lynn Wallington is here 9 p.m. Pacific Saturdays and midnight Eastern for a couple hours on Saturdays and Sundays. We all got time for you, and you guys got time for us. Do us a favor, tell a friend, tell more people to show up, hit that subscribe button, and come hang out with us, because we have fun here each and every night, and we want to make sure that all of you are having fun as well. So thank you so much to everybody who tuned in tonight. Tomorrow night on the show, who do we got? We have Lynn Monet coming in to talk interdimensional frequencies. Oh, it's going to be fun. This will be Lynn's second appearance on the show. And then Friday night, of course, it's the legend himself, R. Keith Andrews. So make sure you all tune us on in. If you aren't following us on social media, make sure you hit and subscribe to our channel here on YouTube tonight. Ring that bell so that way you know that when our shows live are coming on. Also, follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, my personal profile at Dave Scott SOR, on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and my personal handle is at Dave Scott SOR. And because of you, we keep growing, and we have a lot of fun with you. So just stick around. We'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place, and we enjoy doing what we do with you. So we'll see you all again tomorrow night. Take care.